Hello everyone, Cobalt here. Today we're going to be doing a Pokemon challenge. Let's figure out if we can beat Pokemon Scarlet using only bird Pokemon. A moment of clarification, when I say bird Pokemon, I don't mean flying type Pokemon. I mean Pokemon that when mapped to their real world counterparts would be birds. Now, it might be a little complicated to figure out if a Pokemon is a bird or a bird is a Pokemon, but I trust that chat will keep me honest, and vice versa. The first thing we should do is go over the rules so that everyone is on the same page here. Rule number 1, we will only use bird Pokemon during this run. We can use Coryodon for traveling through the overworld and any fights where he is required for, but other than that, only bird Pokemon will be allowed. Rule number 2, no glitches or exploits. I'll sob bitterly about not being able to abuse the missing no glitch for infinite rare candy, but I won't do it. Wait a second there, Cobalt. This is a Pokemon Scarlet run, not a Pokemon Red run. Missing no hasn't been a thing in Pokemon for over 25 years. Are you sure you're feeling okay? In an attempt to avoid that horrifying fact, I'll clarify things. No purposeful glitches or exploits. I'm not going to reset the game and start over just because Pokemon Scarlet had a few bugs. Rule number 3, no items in battle. Only Pokeballs and held items. Rule number 4, we need to name all of our Pokemon. This will make it more emotionally devastating when they die. Wait a second, we're not doing a Nuzlocke run. Pokemon don't die if they faint in battle. Oh, right. Well, just because naming Pokemon is fun then. I'm writing this script as I go, so I'll make my bet now whether or not we'll be able to complete the game under these challenge conditions. I think bird Pokemon are a wide enough category that we should have plenty of options to build our team with and should be able to beat the whole game. A good portion of our birds will either be part water or flying type, so I suspect we'll have some serious issues with the electric type Pokemon. I'm not sure if we'll have anything that will be able to deal with a strong electric type Pokemon without a struggle. This is my first challenge run, and I'm mainly a casual Pokemon player, so I'll have to try to shake my tendencies of, if a move doesn't do damage, why would I ever use it? I can see Iono being a challenge this run. At that point, we might have to take a look at either getting a Pokemon with a ground Terra type or catch an Espithra and see if we can brute force the fight with the power of the Psychic Ostrich. Other than that, as this is my first Pokemon Scarlet challenge video, I will probably end up going through the plot of the game in more detail than I would otherwise. Sorry if things go long here. Future Cobalt note. Things absolutely went long here. Let's head down and get our starter Pokemon. We have 3 options here. Sprigatigo, the grass cat Pokemon, Wakoko, the fire croc Pokemon, and Quaxly, the duckling Pokemon. But are any of the starters a bird, or are we gonna have to go for a while without starting the run properly? How would I be able to tell? Maybe chat has an idea? Quaxly is a bird, eh? Alright, I'll trust you guys here. With the help of chat, I've selected Quaxly as my starting Pokemon for this run. We named him Donald after the hard-drinking, hard-fighting, hard-f***ing Navy man, Donald Duck. By level up, we mainly learn normal, water, flying, and fighting moves. There are a few interesting things in the TM pool, but I'm not sure how we would use some of them. Maybe we'll end up with something like Liquidation and Feather Dance to ruin the enemy's attack and defense, and then Close Combat and Wave Crash to finish them off, along with some leftovers to stay healthy. Looking at his stats, it looks like Donald will be a physical attacker, gaining the fighting type after his final evolution with Attack being his highest stat. Donald has the ability Torrent, which ups water type moves when his health is low, which could play well with Wave Crash. Unfortunately, he has a sassy nature, which means lowered speed and increased special defense. Not my favorite nature. I'd probably prefer something that increases attack or speed and decreases special attack. But what can you do? Keep restarting to get a better nature? What sort of madman do you think I am? With our starter Pokemon obtained, it's time for us to have our first battle with our rival. Now, Nemona is one of the new generations of rivals that picks a starter that's weak to yours and is kind to you. Kids these days have it easy. Back in my day, our rival chose for type advantage and would wait until we were beat up from walking through the wilderness before jumping us and forcing us into battle. But seriously, I like Nemona. She's friendly and her battle maniac personality is a lot of fun. The first battle with Nemona is very straightforward. After all, we have type advantage and we start with moves that let us take advantage of our superior typing. Obviously, the answer to the battle was just attack over and over with the super effective water gun until we won the fight. It's sort of funny that Nemona comments on us understanding basic type advantages. Thinking about the setup of the fight, is it even possible for us to lose? Like if we just sit there and spam growl while giving Nemona every possibility to attack? Maybe something for us to test on a future playthrough. With that battle over and being stopped from fighting us again, Nemona wants to teach us something very important for adventure. What could it be? It's how to catch Pokemon. Listen, Nemona, I learned how to catch Pokemon from the old man of Viridian City. I think I know what I'm doing. Nemona wants us to catch the first wild Pokemon we see, a Lechonk. But we're doing a very specific type of run, so I have to make sure. Is Lechonk a bird? I don't know, let's ask chat. Apparently, Lechonk is not a bird. Alright, guess we just need to knock it out and continue on our way. Well, Chad is apparently very bloodthirsty. I haven't caught that Lechonk on either of the runs I've done in Pokemon Scarlet, so I assume that Nemona's dialogue changes based on whether you catch it or not. Fortunately, there should be some bird Pokemon just down the road, and with 10 extra Pokeballs that Nemona gave us, we should be in good shape. Nemona promised my mother that she would walk me safely to school. So, she immediately got distracted by the idea of a strong Pokemon and let me fall off a cliff because she wasn't paying attention. Falling off the cliff plays a vital role in introducing us to the box legendary and our dragon motorcycle for the rest of the game, Koreadon. Koreadon is pretty beat up and is being bullied by 2 Houndour until it scares him away. I try to give it potions to make it feel better. That doesn't seem to do the trick. Maybe if we let Koreadon use our Rotom phone, it'll be able to call for help? No, that isn't it either. I don't know what we can do to help this poor Pokemon. Maybe I'll have a bite of the sandwich that Mum made to see if the extra energy gives me some good ideas. Hey, that's my sandwich. Well, apparently the sandwich was enough to perk Koreadon up. That's good because we're probably going to need to rely on this strange dragon motorcycle to get us through the cave, considering that despite the fact that Nemona is a champion tier trainer, and despite the fact that she should have other Pokemon on hand beyond Fuecoco, even if she isn't using them to battle us, and therefore should easily be able to send a trained Pokemon to rescue us and bring us back up to the path, especially since you can access the PC box in this game from anywhere with your Rotom phone. Thanks, Nemona. So I wander around the dangerous cave collecting the items that were left behind by other trainers that were presumably eaten by the pack of Houndour and Houndoom. Koreadon protects us, but we have to bail once the Houndoom cheats by using more than 6 Pokemon at once. Finally safe from the cave, Koreadon collapses. Can we make some more sandwiches to perk it back up? We continue on to the lighthouse and meet up with Arvin, who apparently knows a bit more about Koreadon than we do. He doesn't like Koreadon, but he also won't let us travel with it without us beating him in battle. I get all fired up because of Arvin making fun of me for being short. We take a few hits, but Huey beats Squavit with a combination of peck and some quick attacks. Arvin gives me Koreadon's Pokeball and runs off to class. We head to the top of the lighthouse in time to see some Wingull take off. Unfortunately, my Pokeball skills are not good enough to catch one of them in a battle, so we can add an early 3rd member to our party. Oh well, we'll get another chance for that later, even if Wingull has that quad weakness to electric. Nemona gestures around Paldea and says this will all be part of your Pokemon adventure. She then promptly abandons us once again. Guys, I don't think she's actually gonna walk us to class. That's fine. I didn't want to hang out with Nemona anymore anyway. I did want to hang out with Nemona. I can make it to class on my own. On the way to class, we encountered another bird Pokemon. That's right, it's Psyduck. We named Psyduck Dewey after another of Donald Duck's famous nephews. Maybe we'll be able to complete the full set of nephews this run? Generally speaking, Psyduck and Golduck have pretty even stats, with special attack being its highest stat. Dewey has a gentle nature, which means lower defense and increased special defense. She also has the special ability Cloud 9, which eliminates the effects of weather, which seems very situational and probably won't be useful. Despite my mental image of Psyduck and Golduck from the anime, they don't actually learn that many psychic moves by leveling up. In terms of attacking moves, they only learn Confusion and Zen Headbutt. For TM moves, there's a lot more variety. Psyduck and Golduck can learn Dig to get what I expect will be a very rare ground type attack. Maybe we can have some fun with a loadout of Dig, Ice Beam, Psychic, and Nasty Plot or Amnesia. A bit more travel and we make it to Mesagoza. With how long it's taken us to get here, we're probably a little late, and it's on our first day too. And who's there but Nemona, ready and waiting for another battle. But whatever, I'm down, let's rumble. Nemona sends out her starter first, so we switch to Dewey, so we have the advantage with Water Gun. We hit a few Water Guns to take him out while taking a bit of damage in return, and receive a nice compliment from Nemona about using our basic type matchups. Nemona sends out Palmy and decides to show off this game's gimmick mechanic, Terrestrialization. This mechanic lets a trainer swap their Pokemon's typing to whatever their Terra type is once per fight, and boosts attacks that match their Terra type to an additional 2 times power instead of the standard 1.5 times from standard attack bonus. Nemona's Palmy has an electric Terra type, which means that its electric type moves are gonna hit harder, and given our entire team at this point has a weakness to electric, this means I might be in trouble here. But as a quick aside, I can't remember if we ever see Nemona do anything unexpected with Terrestrialization, like switching to a different type defensively. She actually sort of does the opposite, with Terrestrializing her starter Pokemon, getting rid of a defensive subtyping against our starter subtype. Palmy finishes off Dewey with a boosted Thunder Shock. I send out Donald to soften him up a bit. Palmy outspeeds us and hits us with Thunder Shock to drop us into the yellow. Water Gun does the same. Palmy outspeeds us again to finish us off. I sent Huey out and used Quick Attack to finish Palmy off to finish the battle. I suspect that Palmy will be the biggest threat from Nemona's team going forward, but we'll have to see. Spoke too soon. We noticed 2 members from this generation's villain team, Team Star, bullying another student with the most adorable Eevee backpack. I seriously want it. I step in because of my heroic nature and all-consuming love for the super fluffy backpack. The first grunt sends out a Shroomish Strudel. Huey takes it out with 3 blasts of Ember, taking a bit of damage from Strudel's scratch because I was too lazy to switch to Dewey and use Confusion. Nimona interrupts and gets jealous that we're fighting someone that isn't her. But once we explain things, she's apparently very supportive of the idea of me doing violence to our delinquent classmates. Maybe she thinks the idea of me being involved in Pokemon Child gang wars will result in me becoming a stronger trainer. Nimona hands over the Terra Orb, which will allow us to use Terraslization going forward. It really is an interesting mechanic, even if you can only use it once before you need to recharge at a Pokemon Center. I'm not planning on hunting for specific Terra types on my Pokemon, given that we can switch them around with enough Terra shards from the 3-star and above Terra raids, though I'm not sure if I'll end up doing that either, but it's absolutely something to keep in mind going forward. In my previous playthrough, I mainly used Terraslization as a quick power boost to finish off a tough opponent, but it might not be a bad idea to look at swapping the Terra types of some of our Pokemon to ground to allow us to avoid what is going to be a very common weakness in our team to electric type Pokemon. While we're on the topic, do you have any preferences for your Pokemon Terra types? Offensive? Defensive? Something else? Team Star Grunt number 2 sends out Yungoos. I'm interested in seeing what happens in this fight if we don't use a Terra Orb. Huey and Yungoos trade a few blows until we beat the Team Star Grunt. Nimona does have a special bit of dialogue about us not using a Terra Orb, which is cool. After climbing a staircase that is probably violating a multitude of building codes, we have finally made it to school. But going to school isn't really what we care about in Pokemon. I'm just here to pick up the plot hooks for the 3 main storylines in this game. A first in a Pokemon game as far as I can remember. Please call me out if this has happened in one of the Pokemon games that I didn't play. The Path of Legends. We'll be hunting down Titan Pokemon and the Herba Mystica they guard with Arvin as our companion. This plotline unlocks more movement options with Koraidon. Starfall Street. We'll be doing some Pokemon gang wars with the mysterious hacker Cassiopeia, rolling up to Team Star bases, invading their territory, and crushing them under our heel. This plotline unlocks access for us to create more TMs at the TM machine. As an aside, it seems like Director Clavel overheard our plan to do a gang war. Cassiopeia probably isn't going to survive long as a mysterious hacker if their OPSEC is this sloppy. They really should have made sure we weren't in a public area before contacting us. Victory Road, our standard Pokemon plotline of fighting the gym leaders to get badges to allow us to use stronger Pokemon in battle. Badges work differently in this game as they also walk the obedience of Pokemon captured above the level limit and not just traded Pokemon. To reach the post-game content, we will need to complete all 3 plotlines. That being said, as the game is technically open world, we can hypothetically complete the plotlines in any order. Of course, the downside is that Scarlet and Violet don't have any built-in level scaling, so there is technically a correct order to do this in. The correct order according to level is something like this. So if we're following things by level order, we end up switching between the plot lines pretty frequently. Our destination is the Cortondo Gym, home of the bug-type gym leader Catty. On the way, we run into another bird Pokemon, Starly. We catch and name the Starly Tweety for no particular reason. Bird names, I guess. The Starly line is pretty plain, with its highest stats being attack and speed. In terms of level up moves, it's mainly normal and flying. She has a sassy nature. Again, so lowered speed and increased special defense. By TM, she picks up a few options, but nothing that jumps out at me as amazing. If we didn't already have Huey, having access to Heat Wave might be useful. Rain Dance and Hurricane could be a fun combo, but I don't know. Maybe if she could also learn Thunder? I think we'll end up using Tweety for a bit and then putting her in the box. After some more exploring, we found a bird Pokemon that I was really excited to have a chance to use this run. Rookidee. We named the Rookidee Scrooge because shiny Rookidees are a pretty gold color. The Rookidee line has some pretty average looking stats across the board. The final evolution into Corviknight boosts the defense up to its strongest stat. Scrooge has a quiet nature, so speed down and special attack up. In terms of level up, Scrooge learns mainly normal and flying moves. TMs give a few more options. Something that could be fun would be to teach Scrooge Iron Defense and Body Press. Give him a move that makes use of our best stat. I wonder if combining that with teaching Scrooge Substitute and giving some leftovers could set up something really scary. It would also leave us with an open slot for something else. Maybe adding in Screech to ruin the enemy's defense stat as well? I decided to take a stab at the Cortondo Gym Leader. Each gym leader in Paldea has a gym challenge that you have to complete before you can challenge them to a fight. The Cortondo Gym Challenge is Olive Roll? Listen, I'm not really sure what's up with that. Some sort of ritual for a good harvest, I guess. There's not even a time limit on getting the olive into the goal. The goal is to push the giant olive through the maze and to get it into the goal. Gym trainers block the path, but I don't think you actually need to fight any of them to get to the goal. It's just that they guard shortcuts. I mean, I'm gonna stop them anyway for combat experience and to make sure I'm ready to fight the leader, but the shortcuts don't really provide any value to me considering I'm gonna drive around the maze on my dragon motorcycle like a winner and to not walk through the maze on my own 2 feet like some sort of chump. Gym Trainer won and Tweety slapped them down with 2 wing attacks and didn't take any damage because Crick 2 used Growl instead of actually hitting us. Gym Trainer 2 and Tweety took down their Venonat in a single hit of wing attack. I remember Gym Trainers being tougher back in the day. Donald decided that the Gym Trainer fights were too boring and took the moment to evolve into Quaxwell. With the Gym Trainers cleared out, I raced through the maze on Coryodon and drove that olive to the goal. Gym test complete. Next up, Caddy the Gym Leader. But before that, we make an Air Cutter TM and teach it to Tweety. Gym Leader Caddy has 3 Pokemon on her badge team, and they each only have 2 moves. Give her some variety to work with here, Game Freak. If you've played Pokemon games before and understand how gym leaders work, but haven't played Pokemon Scarlet or Violet, you might notice that Caddy has a Teddiursa on her team, and you might say, Cobalt. Teddiursa isn't a bug-type Pokemon, and you'd be correct. The gimmick of the gym leaders in this game is that the final member of their team is a Pokemon that's not of their gym type, and they then terrasilize the type matching the gym. I would have expected to be something that could do extra damage against types that bug Pokemon are weak against. Teddiursa fits with the fact that Katie runs a patisserie, and according to the Pokedex, Teddiursa's paws are always covered in honey. It's time to battle. Wing attack takes down her Nimble in 1 hit. We then do the exact same thing to Tarantula. We Terralicize to match Caddy when fighting Teddiursa. I love how the crowd starts cheering when the gym leader Terralicizes. The 1-2 punch of Air Cutter and Wing attack takes Teddiursa down. It tried to hit us with Fury Swipes, but Tweety dodged it, making the gym leader fight a no-hit, no-damage sweep. Our next destination is the Rocky Cliff Titan. After reaching the appropriate area, Arvin calls us to give us a heads up about the Titan. He also reminds us to not go too crazy and fall off a cliff or something looking for it. I mean, I'm not afraid. We have a Rotom phone with its emergency parachute functionality, and there's the fact that fall damage is illegal in Paldea. There really are a lot of bird Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. I thought we were going after the Rocky Cliff Titan, but instead we ran into another bird Pokemon, Squawkabilly. Chad agrees with me that Squawkabilly is a bird. We knock him down into the orange with a critical flame charge. We catch and name him Iago. If only he were a green Squawkabilly, then we could have named him Louie and completed the trio of Donald Duck's nephews. But we get what we get. In terms of stats, Squawkabilly's best are attack and speed. He has a hasty nature, which means increased speed and decreased defense. He also has the ability Intimidate, which lowers the attack of other Pokemon on the field when Squawkabilly switches in. That sort of makes up for the lower defense stat, or at least it acts as a bit of a crutch in that regard. In terms of moves, he's similar to a lot of bird Pokemon. By level up, he learns mainly normal and flying. By TM, he gets a bit more variety with a few offensive dark, bug, and fire moves. Something amazing in particular that jumps out at me though. After a few unexpected detours, we have found Cloth, the Rocky Hill Titan, a very unsettling giant rock crab. I should not do that. How horrifying. Let's get rid of our feelings of terror by doing some violence. I'm not afraid. You want to go? Yeah, let's fight. We start off the fight by sending out Donald. Cloth outspeeds us to land a Vice Grip that doesn't do much damage. We respond with a low sweep to do about 40% of his health in damage and lower his speed. That speed drop did the trick, and now we're faster. A second low sweep puts him into the red, ending this stage of the fight. Cloth then skitters away in a truly unsettling manner before throwing itself off the cliff to get away from us. That's right, be afraid! A quick explanation of how Titans work in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We find them out in the wild, which then triggers the fight. The fight has 2 phases. Once we knock them down in the first phase, they run away and eat some of the Herba Mystica. We then fight them again with Arvin as our teammate. Riding the motorcycle off the cliff after Cloth to make a suitably dramatic entry lets us trigger the second stage of the fight. Arvin shows up, and in this fight he's using Shelder, which will be our teammate. Sweeping the leg was a good strategy in the previous fight. If it isn't broken, don't fix it, eh? Unfortunately, with its power boosted by the Herba Mystica, Cloth is only taking about 20% damage from each hit. With Shelder helping, we managed to knock it down to the orange, which triggers its ability, Anger Shell, which boosts attacking stats and speed while dropping defensive power. It hits us with Rock Smash for the one actually damaging move it did in this fight before we finish kicking it down. Having defeated the Titan and found the prize, Arvin then cooks some delicious sandwiches using the Herba Mystica, which Coryodon then begs for a bite of. Speaking of which, is this the equivalent of giving a pet table scrap? Coryodon eating an Herba Mystica sandwich will restore some of the power that's been lost due to its injuries, according to Professor Seda. Basically, think of it as unlocking hidden machines in the previous Pokemon games. In this case, we gain the ability to dash at high speed. So, it isn't really a hidden machine, but more like the running shoes or the bicycle from the previous games. We've done our job and had a tasty sandwich, so we leave for further adventures, but the camera lingers on Arvin for a moment before he tells someone we can't see off screen that they can come out. Is Arvin collecting the Herba Mystica as part of some larger plan? We'll have to keep an eye on him. It was nighttime when we left the Titan's cave after our adventure with Arvin, which means it's the perfect time to try to catch Murkrow. Again, I drive into a flock of Murkrow, triggering the battle. We have Scrooge chip the Murkrow down into the red, and it's time to try catching it again. Given how things went last time, I think I should bring the counters back. Are you kidding me? The first throw with the Great Ball catches it this time? Okay. We name the Murkrow Darkwing. He has a sassy nature, which means we have increased special defense and decreased speed. It has the ability Insomnia, which could be situationally useful, but nothing spectacular. Wait, Murkrow and Honchkrow can learn Rest off of a TM. Does Insomnia let you heal off Rest without falling asleep, or does Rest just fail? Unfortunately, it looks like Rest would fail in this case. Too bad. I level up, we mainly learn dark moves. Possibly some fun things to play with though. Nasty Plot to buff our stats could be interesting, but as we're mainly a physical attacker, it might not be the best option. By TM, we get some more type coverage, and what could be some fun options to play with. We can learn the combo of Rain Dance and Hurricane, but again, we don't have the option to pick up Thunder as well. With the Titan Cloth defeated, and Murkrow finally added to our team, we can head off to our next destination, the Artisan Pokemon Gym, home of the Grass-type gym leader Barassus. Arriving at the gym, our wonderful rival Nimona gives us a few healing items, but doesn't challenge us to a battle. Is she okay? I'm worried about her. But before we have a chance to ask her how she's doing, she's already run away. Well, no time to think too hard about what's going on there. Time to register with the gym for the gym test. The challenge for this gym is playing Sunflora hide and seek. So we have to wander around town finding Sunflora and talking to them so they follow us around until we've collected all 10 that we need for the challenge. A funny little bug is that if you run through the small puddles in the town, the Sunflora sprites will despawn, so I assume that the in-game explanation is just that they drowned. Kind of weird for a grass-type Pokemon though. Once again, it's not a time challenge. Something that I found during this game of Sunflora hide and seek is that a few of the Sunflora will actually challenge you to a battle. But Sunflora is a pretty terrible Pokemon, so it's nothing too scary. We just have Iago one-shot them with Aerial Ace. After a few minutes of searching, mostly involved getting distracted picking up random items, we have all 10 we need. We complete the gym test and it's time to take a run at the gym leader. The same as the previous gym leader, Barassus has 3 Pokemon in his badge team, and once again, they each only have 2 moves. It's a bit weird to me that Barassus has Smoliv, a symbol of Cortondo, on his team instead of a Sunkern or Sunflora that are symbols of his own town, but whatever. I can understand Caddy not having a Smoliv because it isn't a bug type, but come on Barassus, have some civic pride. Battle start. The battle ended up being a complete sweep. Iago takes down Pet Little with 1 hit of Aerial Ace. Same thing with Smoliv. We Terrorless Eyes to match Barassus, doing the same to Sudowoodo. 2 more Aerial Aces take down Sudowoodo, though we do take a chip to the pain from his Trailblaze. Barassus says our battle was a work of art. Let's just say I have my doubts about that. While making our way to our next destination, the Open Sky Titan, we come across another bird Pokemon that I was looking forward to having as part of our team. Chad agreed with me that it's a bird, which is good because the evolved form is literally Espethra, the ostrich Pokemon. Iago immediately kills it with Aerial Ace. I think he suspects that he's going to be replaced. That's okay as we immediately find another one. We caught and named her Frederica. In terms of stats, it's a speedy special attacker with good health and even stats across the board. I can see it being a member of our final team. She has a docile nature, which means a neutral stat gain. If we had the chance, I'd probably feed her a modest mint to get lowered attack and increased special attack. I will note that I just found out how mints actually work. I didn't understand how they worked from the description previously. She also has the ability Frisk, which checks for held items in battle. This could be interesting if we were hunting wild Pokemon for specific held items, but isn't particularly amazing for our purposes. It's a bit sad because Espethra's other possible ability, Opportunist, copies the stat boosts of the opponent, which is really cool. I did recently find out about ability capsules which let you switch up the ability of a Pokemon though. You can't buy them until the post-game, but maybe we'll get lucky and manage to snag one from a 5, 6, or 7-star Terra raid, if we end up doing those. I level up, she learns a variety of Psychic, Fairy, and Flying moves. The signature move of Lumina Crash looks neat. A special attacking move that massively decreases the special defense of the enemy is pretty cool. Psychic has always been a good move since Gen 1. Dazzling Gleam gives us a strong Fairy move as well. From TM, she learns some interesting options. We may have to play around with things, but I could see Shadow Ball, Hyper Voice, or Flash Cannon being pretty fun. We switched out Tweety to have Featherica in our party. That's right, Iago, you're safe. Today. But who can say about tomorrow? That's just the road to becoming a Pokemon Master, baby. Oh man, another bird Pokemon? We'll make some game progress soon, I think, but first we've got to catch this Swablu. According to my polls, chat also agrees with me that she's a bird. At this point, chat is concerned about my constant, crippling addiction to running polls. Listen, detailed logging of data is important. The more data you have, the easier it'll be to track down problems or make predictions as to what type of Pokemons might be birds ahead of time. In this case, we might not needed to have bothered, considering that her Pokedex description is literally the cotton bird Pokemon, so it sounds like Game Freak agrees with us as well. Sorry, Iago, looks like you've been replaced. We catch Swablu and name her Archimedes. In terms of stat, the Swablu line is mainly a defender, with special defense and defense being his highest stats. I really like Swablu and Altaria, but I'm not sure how much we'll end up using her this run. At least we'll have the option. He has the docile Docile Nature, which means neutral stat gain. She also has the ability Natural Cure, which cures status effects when she switches out. In terms of level up, she learned some dragon moves and Moonblast. Maybe we could do something with swapping her Terra type to Fairy and using her as our anti-dragon weapon? A bit of an aside, but it's really strange to me how the last move Altaria learns by level up is Sky Attack at level 56. Is that a good move? It seems a bit like the flying equivalent of Solar Beam or Hyper Beam, but you can remove the charge requirement on Solar Beam with Sunny Day, and Hyper Beam has the recharge after the attack. Anyone with a better knowledge of Pokemon, please feel free to school me in the comments as to why Sky Attack is awesome actually. At the very least, the fact that according to Bulbapedia, the translation of the Japanese attack name is Godbird is pretty cool. While I didn't immediately notice it at the time, the TM move pool is where I think the Swablu line really shines. There are a variety of options including Ice Beam, some combo setup moves like Sunny Day and Solar Beam, or Rain Dance and Hurricane. Altaria can also learn what I think might be the strongest ground type move available to us in this run, Bulldoze. Arvin calls us to let us know that we're close to the Open Sky Titan. We warm ourselves up with a few of the local trainers before going after it. You really think if the Titan Pokemon were causing massive trouble by throwing boulders down the mountain and anyone coming close, the Pokemon League would send someone to deal with it. Then again, apparently in Paldea, being a gym leader isn't enough work to be a full-time job. I wonder if some of the villain teams for the other regions would just absolutely overrun Paldea. After playing the world's easiest game of Frogger to make it safely up the hill to the Open Sky Titan's nest, and not being crushed to death by boulders, it's time for another Titan fight. Bombardier is honestly kind of horrifying with its rock-dropping pouch. That being said, Chad is right, it is a bird, but we can't catch it as a Titan, so let's start the fight. First stage of the fight, and we send out Donald. Bombardier outspeeds us, and we take a hit of Pluck that does about 40% damage to Donald. Our Aqua Jet hits him for about the same in response. The second trait of attacks drops us into the orange and drops the Titan into the red so that it flees to trigger the second stage of the fight. Unfortunately, I think we might have hit him a bit too hard, considering he's just sort of flying into the cliff face for a while, like a bird who doesn't understand glass, before breaking it to get into his stash. Given that the Herba Mystica is basically a miracle cure, hopefully that'll fix whatever brain damage we gave him during that fight. As always, Arvin shows up for the second stage of the battle, mentioning that my distraction of Bombardier allowed him to make it up. Arvin, buddy, friend, I'm almost certain you could have walked up the hill and avoided the boulders on foot if you wanted to. Note to self, try doing that during a future playthrough. Arvin sends out NaCli for this fight. Hey, hold it. Did you notice that? Let me rewind for a second. That Cobalt guy used a super potion in battle. That isn't a held item or some type of Pokeball. Wait, shit, I forgot that was against the rules. Chat called me out on my mistake and I did 10 punishment push-ups. I also added a permanent push-ups redeem to my channel. I suppose it'll be a good way to get some exercise during streams. I hope this will satisfy the bloodlust that I've caused with my blatant, if accidental, violation of the challenge rules. Wait, what's going on here? Wait, that's too many. Please, just let it be over. I can't take it anymore. Alright, so as a result of adding the push-ups redeem until the point where I complete the script, I have had to do a lot of push-ups. I guess, let me know in the comments down below if your bloodlust has been satiated. Back to the battle, NaCli uses Smackdown, which was super effective, but didn't really do that much damage. To be fair, Bombardier's response with Wing Attack didn't do that much either. Our Aqua Cutter and NaCli's Rock Throw got him down into the low orange, and then a final Aqua Cutter finished him off. Arvin cooks some delicious sandwiches using the Herba Mystica. This time, Arvin makes an extra sandwich for Coryodon. Well, that was nice of him, but Coryodon is greedy and absolutely loves sandwiches, so he notices there are some leftovers and he goes for them. This causes Arvin to have an outburst about how that sandwich isn't for him. After the unexpected outburst, he decides that since we're helping, he should probably explain why he's searching for the Herba Mystica. His Pokepalma Bostiff was tragically injured, and regular medicine, potions, and Pokemon centers just haven't been able to fix him. So, Arvin turned to the possible miracle cure in the Herba Mystica. Fortunately, unlike most purported miracle cures, the Herba Mystica actually works. With the bitter Herba Mystica, the Bostiff regains the ability to see. For Coryodon, the bitter Herba Mystica restores its ability to move across the water. Wow, we're getting the Surf Hidden Machine way earlier in Paldea than we do in most games. I guess this really solidifies what our relationship with Arvin is. We're just two guys, two buddies, two pals, with sick Pokemon who need delicious, nutritious, not at all suspicious sandwiches to make them feel better. The next location on our journey is the Team Star Dark Base. Time to do some Pokemon gang wars. As we approach the base, home of the Sagine squad, Cassiopeia calls us on the Rotom phone and lays out what we're gonna do here. Our call is interrupted by a character we have absolutely not met yet. Clive. Clive wants to get in on Operation Starfall, so he says we're already friends. I like the idea of having some allies when we're doing a gang war, so I back his claim. Clive says he has some unsettled business with Team Star. Cassiopeia accepts and allows him to join the mission, mentioning that they share some history with Team Star. Cassiopeia has issued a challenge to all Team Star bosses, so they know we're coming. Cassiopeia explains that if the Team Star bosses lose a fight, they basically have to disband because they lose their mandate for leadership. I suppose the happy path here would be that the boss loses to a member with ambition who then becomes the new boss, or some outsider beats the boss and is interested in becoming the boss, but because we're planning on rolling up, beating the boss, and then bailing, the whole thing falls apart. They really should have put a safety check in the rules where the team members can elect a new boss if the existing boss is negligent or absent. Oh well, you live and learn, I guess. We beat the gate guards without too much of a hassle. They then flee back inside and trigger an alert saying we've arrived. I suppose we should explain how Team Star bases work in this game. They have two phases to them, same as a Titan Pokemon. And gyms, actually, now that I think about it. After fighting the gate guards, you can start your raid on the base. The first stage is the Team Star Barrage, a new format for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet where you take the first 3 Pokemon in your party and send them out with the right bumper to fight and beat 30 Pokemon sent out by the Team Star members within the 10-minute time limit. There are also vending machines which allow you to heal your Pokemon during the challenge. I'm honestly not a huge fan of the Star Barrage format. It doesn't get me hyped up. The time limit isn't tight enough to add to the difficulty. Maybe cut it down to like 3 or 5 minutes and then we can talk. It's just never felt particularly difficult or exciting to me. Maybe if I was doing a challenge run where I only had 1 Pokemon to use, the time limit would become interesting. Spitballing a more interesting, to me, gimmick format for Star Barrage might be if it was a set of consecutive triple battles. We keep the time limit on the player's turn and we keep the vending machines to allow you to fully heal your Pokemon between matches, but it takes some time off the clock. I don't know, does anyone really love Star Barrage? Have I just been doing it wrong? Once you finish the Star Barrage, you can make your run at the leader of the team for their Team Star badge. Wait, do Team Star bases actually have 3 phases? I suppose it depends on if you count the guards or not. Well, it's about time for us to tear through their base. We take down Grunt A's Murkrow with 2 shots of Disarming Voice. Grunt B retreats inside the base. Cassiopeia calls to hype us up and let us know not to bother trying to outthink the boss and just crush them with overwhelming power and wipe them off the map. I don't even know Hyper Beam yet though. We ring the bell and begin our invasion of their base. The 3 Pokemon we end up using for Star Barrage are Donald, Huey, and Scrooge. As I mentioned earlier, Star Barrage never feels like a threat to me, and this time is no different. We slice through their challenge of 30 Pokemon in 2 minutes. Like I said, they really need to cut the time limit here. I noticed the Team Star grunts using Pokemon that aren't actually Dark-type for the Star Barrage. I mean, Lowkicks is part Dark-type, but its pre-evolved form of Nimble isn't. Although, I suppose it would be foolish of me to expect teenage gangsters to follow the rules. Regardless, time to fight the boss. The boss Giacomo comes out on top of a modded Reverum. A modded Reverum that's impossible for the player to obtain, I might add. Looking at his team, it looks like he's doing better than the gym leaders, given that both of his Pokemon have more than 2 moves. Donald hits his Palmard with Disarming Voice, but it doesn't do as much damage as I expected, because I forgot Palmard is part Steel type. Though his return shot of Aerial Ace didn't do much to us either. After trying out a few moves, it looks like Aqua Cutter was doing the most damage, so a few more hits finished the job. It's pretty cool how Giacomo sends his Pokemon onto his Reverum and then rides the Reverum into battle. I also like that his Reverum is a custom, unique Pokemon that gets a non-standard health bar. Reverum drops our attack with Intimidate and then knocks us into red with Wicked Torque. We hit it with Low Sweep, which lowers its speed, but doesn't do as much damage as I was hoping. Reverum's next Snarl takes Donald out of the fight. While Featherika is holding on to a big weakness to Dark-type attacks, she knows a Fairy-type move, so we follow up with her. That really wasn't a great idea, as Reverum outspeeds us and Wicked Torque one-shots her. Archimedes also knows a Fairy-type move, so I try the same strategy again. Hopefully it'll go better this time. Reverum outspeeds us and knocks us into the orange with Wicked Torque. Also, Disarming Voice does next to nothing. A second shot of Wicked Torque finishes us off. We follow up with Darkwing. Reverum lowers our special defense with Metal Sound, but we chip away with Wing Attack to get it into the orange. 3 shots of Swift take Darkwing out. Scrooge is up next. We use Pluck and have our special defense dropped with Metal Sound. Snarl drops us into the orange and lowers our special attack. The second Snarl takes us out. Wow, I'm down to my last Pokemon here. Cars really are too powerful in the Pokemon world. Can Huey pull this fight from the jaws of defeat? A single shot of Acrobatics finishes the fight in our favor. We then get some flashbacks about the bosses of Team Star a year ago, where they were talking about setting up the rules for Team Star as well as something called Operation Star. Giacomo honors the rules that he created and gave us his Team Star badge. He also gave us the TM for Foul Play, which is pretty weird considering neither of his Pokemon knew it, so it wasn't like it was his signature move or something. He's honestly a pretty friendly guy given that we just beat him, and asked us a few questions about how we're enjoying our time at Naranja Academy. Clive shows up to ask a few questions about why Team Star isn't going to class. Oh man guys, is Clive a narc? Giacomo says he's waiting for a friend to come back. The strongest boss in Team Star. The big boss. Wait, I think I've heard about the big boss before. They're running a private military company and doing some international terrorism. Or was that Metal Gear? I'm sure it's not important. Cassiopeia asks us a few questions about our fight with Giacomo and makes some cryptic remarks before sending Penny, a member of the support team, to give us some TM materials and recipes for new TMs. With that out of the way, our next destination will be Levincia, home of Paldea's electric-type gym leader Iono. I have some vague recollection there was speculation at the time that she was going to end up being a VTuber, but she's just a regular streamer who uses a face cam. Hey everybody, Future Cobalt here. I just want to confess that I really had to resist the urge to call Iono a flesh tuber there. Alright, okay, let's carry on. Thinking about it, it's been a while, but I think I remember the big bagels in the anime being broadcast on TV. Bagels, Cobalt? Really? Bagels? Battles. I meant battles. Big battles. Which has me wondering where the divide between a streamer and a TV broadcaster or host actually lies. Is the divide specifically that the video has to appear on an actual TV channel and not just as a video stream on a website? Pokemon battling is a big thing in Universe though. I have to imagine that gym battles would be shown on TV in Universe, so that doesn't feel right. Wait, I'm almost certain that the first episode of the Pokemon anime has Ash oversleeping because he was watching a battle on TV, didn't it? The divide can't be having any sort of corporate backing because there are a bunch of corpo streamers around, and I wouldn't say they aren't streamers because of that. Then again, the Paldea Pokemon League seems to be dirt broke, and being gym leader seems to be mainly a side hustle. So maybe they can't afford broadcasting the gym matches, or there just isn't any market for it. So if you want to watch Pokemon battles in Paldea, Iono is the only game in town. Maybe Iono was making her living streaming games, doing art, or singing, and then accidentally her way into becoming a gym leader and was like, well, I guess this is another thing I'm doing on stream now. Maybe I'm just splitting hairs here though. Exploring the beach before the gym, we run into a Wattrel, which has the advantage of both being a bird and an electric type, which covers the weakness of flying types to electric, and also a flying type, which covers the weakness of electric types to ground. We caught her using an Ultra Ball to match her color scheme and named her Zapdos. And in some universes, naming her that would result in us instantly being vaporized by approximately 999 bolts of lightning striking us at once. In terms of stats, she is a speedy special attacker. She has the ability Wind Power, which boosts the power of the next electric type move after being hit with a wind move. That'll make her an even more terrifying threat to any flying type Pokemon we encounter. She also has a serious nature, which means neutral stat gain. I might have to see if I can track down a modest mint so we can have decreased attack and increased special attack here. In terms of level up, she learns mainly electric and flying type moves. Most interestingly, she learns Electro Ball as an evolution move, which has the advantage of both scaling damage with speed and being a special attack. As a fast special attacker, I can see this being her signature move. She can also learn Roost, which would give us an option to actually heal in battle. By TM, once again, she mainly learns electric and flying type moves. The most interesting option here is probably Tailwind to double our speed and make Electro Ball an even more hard-hitting move. We could also pick up something like Charge Beam for an additional attack option that boosts our special attack. Another option might be to grab Thunder Wave to be able to paralyze our enemies and ruin their speed stat. A 3-prong combo of Thunder Wave, Tailwind, and Electro Ball maybe? Despite being able to learn both Thunder and Hurricane, she isn't able to learn Rain Dance to make them even more terrifying though. We swapped out Archimedes for Zapdos as Archimedes just wasn't hitting hard enough at that point, though we'll keep her in mind to maybe use later as an anti-dragon specialist. A funny note at this point, when I was streaming, I accidentally forgot to switch off the Bulbapedia screen while looking at the Wattrel and kill a Wattrel, and then was just playing the game without realizing it for a while. Fortunately, because I was recording the raw gameplay footage for this challenge video, I was able to Frankenstein together the two sources so that the VOD actually shows the gameplay for the time I had it set to the wrong screen. Whoops. But can you really call yourself a streamer if you don't have those moments of overwhelming scuff? We head to the Levincia gym to try our luck fighting Iono. But who do we run into but Nemona? Even better, this time she is ready and itching for a battle. Nemona sends out her Rockruff. We switch from Darkwing to Donald to get type advantage and eliminate our weakness. But we do take a hit of Rock Throw in exchange, which does a whopping 12 damage. A single strike of Aqua Cutter takes Rockruff out of the fight. Nemona switches to Palmy, easily her scariest Pokemon for our team. We switch to Zapdos in turns and we can try out how the Tailwind and Electro Ball combo works on a fellow electric type Pokemon. Zapdos is now a Kilowattrel as I did some specific level grinding with her to evolve her and grab Electro Ball, and also taught her Tailwind to double her speed. The first time we used Tailwind, we ran into something unexpected. Did you see it? Tailwind triggered Zapdos' Wind Power. I hadn't expected this. I figured that Wind Power would only trigger if the enemy Pokemon hit us with something like like Gust or whatever. This means that Electro Ball gets boosted twice from Tailwind, once from Wind Power doubling its power, and then once from any increases to speed, increasing the power of Electro Ball. I wonder if the ordering matters here. Unfortunately, it looks like Tailwind only triggers Wind Power on the turn it's used. It would have been great if Tailwind displayed a message for every turn that it was active that says something like, the Tailwind continues blowing from behind your team, which would then trigger Wind Power for each of the 5 turns it was active. That being said, I'm coming out ahead with this power interaction here, so I won't complain too much. Something that I think is funny is I always seem to pick up Pokemon that I've never used before for the Iono gym fight and then end up absolutely loving them to the point they become an unexpected favorite Pokemon of mine. In my first playthrough, that was Mudbray and Mudsdale. In this run, I'm absolutely feeling the same feelings about Wattrel and Kilowattrel. The superpowered, or I guess wind-powered in this case, Electro Ball was enough to one-shot Nemona's Palmy. That's probably a good sign. Nemona sends out Crocolore and immediately terrorizes him. But it doesn't matter, Zapdos's Electro Ball takes him out in one hit. With Nemona out of the way, we head to the gym to kick off our gym challenge. The entire experience at Iono's gym involves us collabing with her for one of her streams. I'll admit, that's not really my jam. I prefer to get to know someone first and make sure we vibe before we start thinking about collabs, as opposed to the first time we interact being on a collab stream. But I guess Iono must have this down to a horrifyingly dispassionate process where she doesn't care about my feelings, only about the subscriptions. Or, as they say, that's just show business, baby. She immediately has me live on stream without even warning me that we're going live. Yikes. Seriously feels like some bad etiquette here. But if I don't participate, I can't get the gym badge, so I'll just have to suck it up and make a twit longer about it after the fact. Though, this whole thing has me wondering about the people that don't have any real charisma, or maybe just a face for radio, but have a talent for battling. Do they just end up brick-walled because they can't help Iono make a viral stream? Or is Iono someone who can play off literally anyone to make quality content so that the challenger doesn't really matter here? Either way, the gym challenge is a game of hide and seek where we need to track down Director Clavel in a few different places around the city. It's not that difficult at all. Also, every time we find Director Clavel, we also have to fight a gym trainer. The gym trainers are all Pokemaniacs, so maybe they aren't actually gym trainers and are just Iono's deranged fans. As an aside, I personally hate the designs of the Pokemaniacs in this game. The vests with the different Pokemon faces just don't look that good to me. Pick a lane, man. If you want to dress up as a Pokemon, dress up as a Pokemon, but the vests look like you're wearing trophies of your kills. We took down Pokemaniac number 1 by having Huey trade flame charges for sparks with his Luxio. We got knocked down into the red before we took it out, but interestingly enough, 2 flame charges was enough to outspeed Luxio even when Spark paralyzed us. Pokemaniac number 2. Seriously, are they actually her gym trainers, or is she just encouraging parasocial relationships here? Given that we are paralyzed and in the red, and it was raining, his Tynamo takes out Huey with Spark, but we did manage to burn it with flame body. Wait, is Spark a physical move? We send out Darkwing next. We hit it with Assurance to immediately knock it down to a sliver of red. Dynamo's Charge Beam knocks us into the orange in return. Fortunately, the burn is enough to take Dynamo out. The Pokemaniac follows up with a Flaffy. Assurance knocks him into the orange, but he decides to charge instead of attacking. Probably not the best move here. Another Assurance knocks him out, though we did get paralyzed off Flaffy's static in return. Apparently, the third round of hide and seek isn't followed up by a third trainer battle. Having beaten the gym challenge, we're free to go and pick a fight with Iono. Iono has 4 Pokemon on her badge team. Once again, none of them have a full roster of moves. Her ace Pokemon, Miss Magius, will be extra scary because it has the ability Levitate, which when terrorized to electric covers its weakness to ground, leaving it with no weaknesses. She introduces us to her stream, but I don't hear her say anything about having her wonderful mods give us a shout out, so I guess I'll need to do that myself. Gotta take advantage of being on the big stage, right? Hello everyone, my name's Cobalt. I'm a variety VTuber who plays a mix of everything in an attempt to play down my backlog of games. Somehow I seem to be collecting games faster than I'm playing them down though. I have no idea how that could be happening. If you have any idea, please leave it in the comment down below. I've currently been playing around with the idea of making some Pokemon Hades and maybe Stardew Valley challenge videos from the contents of my streams for YouTube. But I play a variety of things from RPGs or farming sims to the occasional roguelite. Basically, whatever the mood strikes me. I also frequently do Follower Choice Friday streams where I put some options to a vote and the Discord picks what I play that Friday. Some recent games I've played are boop boop boop. So if that sounds good to you or you've been enjoying this video so far, you can find me streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/cobaltvt 3 or 4 days a week. I generally start streaming around 8 p.m. Eastern time on the weekdays and around noon on the weekend. The link to all my social media stuff will be in the doobly-doo below. With that out of the way, time to fight Iono. After giving my Pokemon some rare and experience candies that I picked up from the various terror raids I've done, we come back a few levels higher, around level 30. We avenge the shame of our previous defeat. Fortunately, we don't need to go through another game of hide and seek and we can go straight to challenging Iono. We spent some more time fighting wild Pokemon and boosting the team up with some more rare candy. I came back to the gym with Pokemon around levels 32 to 35 and Featherika has evolved. Maybe the third time will be the charm here? We start by sending out Zapdos again. We set up the Tailwind while Watchful Spark just chips the paint. Our follow-up Electro Ball takes him down in one shot. Iono sends out Belly Bolt and our Electro Ball puts him into the orange. Follow-up Spark does some damage, but we're not in any real danger here. Second Electro Ball finishes him off. Iono sends out Luxio. I refresh Tailwind and take a hit of Spark that puts us into the orange. A shot of superpowered Electro Ball takes out Luxio in one shot. Alright, so we're in much better shape going into the Mismagius fight than we have been in the previous runs, in that our entire team is still alive. Although, I suppose if Mismagius gets going by outspeeding us and boosting special attack with Charge Beam, she could turn into a runaway train that we might be unable to stop. Electro Ball did about 30% of Mismagius' health in damage. She returns fire with Hex, doing about 20 points of damage in return. It might be close, but I might be able to manage another hit. As an aside, I wonder if she's using Hex because we have a resistance to Charge Beam because of our electric typing. As we're also part flying, it would just do normal damage, so who knows. I used Roost to heal back up as I took another hit of Hex in return to drop us back down to the orange. The Tailwind I kicked up has settled back down. If I have the chance to pull off the Tailwind Electro Ball combo, I think we might have enough force behind it, especially with Wind Power activating to take Mismagius down here. But to do that I need more health points to work with. I use Roost again. Mismagius uses Confuse Ray. I try very hard to ignore the associated trauma from the last run. I try to set up a Tailwind and immediately hurt myself in confusion. Another hit of Hex. We set up the Tailwind successfully. Another hit of Hex. We snap out of Confusion and Roost to restore health before losing some to the Hex. Supercharged Electro Ball finishes off Mismagius. Let's go. We have broken our streak of defeats with that sweet, sweet victory. With Iono out of the way, our next destination is the Team Star Fire Base. More Pokemon Child Gang Wars. We approach the Team Star base and immediately encounter our old friend Clive. He lets us in on the fact that there have been rumors about Team Star. However, he is mainly concerned with the fact that the Team Star members haven't been going to class. Clive has set a deadline that they need to make their choice and dissolve their gang and return to class or be expelled, but they haven't responded. Man, it sure is weird that our fellow student Clive has the power to expel other students. We do know that Nimona is the school council president, so maybe Clive is her vice president. I don't remember Pokemon ever really leaning into the absurdly powerful student council trope, but maybe that's a thing here in Paldea. Cassiopeia calls us to let us know that the base will be on their guard, and Clive bails out without saying anything to them. We also don't mention that Clive was around when Cassiopeia asks. The Team Star grunt manning the gate tries to self-defense me. It was not very effective in that Donald sliced through his Houndour with one hit of Aqua Cutter. Cassiopeia calls us again and congratulates us on defeating the grunt, and lets us know that the Team Star fire crew, the Skidar squad, is holed up inside. Shadar? Is it Shadar? Fuck it. It was at this point that my brain was like, I wonder if the squad names have any actual meaning, or if it's just a group of kids making up words that sound cool as names. Well, that's nothing important. Hey, at least I know how the squad name should be pronounced though. As always, the Star Barrage battle was nothing to worry about. We completed it in just a hair under 2 minutes. It's now time to challenge Mila for leadership of the squad. Complete aside, I feel like Mila is a character that people could have a lot of fun cosplaying as. Looking at her team comp, we can see that once again the Team Star boss only has 2 Pokemon, with her ace Pokemon being her car. Is Team Star's gimmick that they're all gearheads? Does anyone think that the Starmobiles owe some of their DNA to Gary Oak's car in the early seasons of Pokemon? Or is that too much of a stretch? It throws me off every time I look at the details for the Starmobiles and realize they aren't also part Steel type. The same thing trips me up that Torkoal isn't also part Ground type. We start off by sending Donald against her Torkoal. Our Aqua Cutter does about 25% health and damage. That Harsh Sunlight is harsh. Torkoal's Flame Wheel didn't do that much damage, but it did burn us. The lowered attack will be annoying. I used Low Sweep because I misremembered Torkoal being part Ground type, which isn't even weak against fighting type moves. I was thinking of Rock type. Thanks, Geodude, for ever messing up my mental mapping about how Rock and Ground types work. Oh, I also mixed up Low Sweep and Low Kick in my head, so I was absolutely expecting Torkoal to take more damage from being a chunky boy. We basically did a sliver of damage there. Could have used an Aqua Cutter. Even though our next Aqua Cutter dropped Torkoal into the orange, the attack drop from the burn is really annoying. A slog of back and forth attacks lets Donald drop Torkoal to a silver of health, but the burn takes us out before we can finish her off. I send out Huey and use Flame Charge to take Torkoal out and boost our speed. Our next foe is the Shadar Starmobile. It's still faster than us with 1 stage of speed up, but its signature move of Blazing Torque doesn't do a lot of damage. Acrobatics isn't doing massive damage, but we can chip away with it, especially when Mila starts using Overheat, doing around 12 damage and lowering her special attack for the rest of the fight. Please keep doing that, Mila. Reverum hits us with a critical Blazing Torque, which doesn't do much damage as we finally knock it down into the orange with more acrobatics. Reverum just keeps increasing its speed with Speed Boost and Blazing Torque. Okay, I need to know, is Speed Boost just the speed equivalent of stamina in that your speed gets boosted every time you take a hit? Ooh, speed boost is actually better than stamina on that front, in that you get a speed boost at the end of every turn without needing to get hit. Though you don't get the multiple boosts from being hit with multi-hit attacks, so there is a trade-off there. Reverum Screech lowers our attack, but we knock it into the red. I was worried that the defense down was going to be enough to let it take down Huey, even though we have another 4 Pokemon in reserve, but it wasn't enough. Another hit of acrobatics finishes off the Starmobile, and with that, the battle. We get a flashback of some more Team Star backstory. Thinking about it, the fact that they built the Starmobiles, is this a Mewtwo situation? Did a bunch of students do a Mewtwo in the schoolyard with a box of scraps? Mila gave us her star badge along with the TM for Flame Charge. She says she's not giving them to me, but she's gonna give them to my Quaxwell. My Quaxwell can't learn Flame Charge though, can he? Alright, I've confirmed it. Quaxwell cannot learn Flame Charge. Is this Mila being, what is it they call it again? Alright, a Tsundere? Clive shows up with a Char cadet from the school, Charlos, who Mila used to play with, and talks some more about the rumors about what Team Star is planning. Speaking of Char cadet, it was only when I was writing this script that I realized that Char cadet doesn't have a counterpart Pokemon that's version restricted to Pokemon Violet. By that I mean I was under the impression that Charcadet and Amarouge were restricted to Pokemon Scarlet, and then Ceruledge and its pre-evolution were restricted to Pokemon Violet. But apparently Charcadet is the pre-evolved form for both, and it's just a branching evolution, and not 2 separate Pokemon lines. Mila vaguely alludes to Team Star as a memory that she and the other members of Team Star will always treasure, and then kicks us out of the base instead of giving us any further information. Cassiopeia calls us, makes some vague comments, and then sends some league points and hangs up. Penny, with the most adorable Eevee backpack, also drops by to give us some more Pokemon crafting materials. She also gives us a little backstory about how Team Star was made up of misfits who were being bullied, teamed up for protection in numbers to fight back against their bullies. Wait, is this the origin story of most gangs? Wandering the area a little more, we receive a phone call from Arvin alerting us to the fact that the lurking Steel Titan is in the area. He wonders if it stays hidden by just being really fast. That would be interesting considering Steel is the type with the lowest average speed. Hold on, Cobalt. You should probably double check that before just putting that out into the world off of nothing but a vague recollection and pure assumption. Well, apparently I was completely off base there. Looking at the overall stat breakdown according to Bulbapedia, it looks like Steel isn't actually the worst type for speed. Steel is actually faster than Grass, Bug, Ground, and Rock. Huh. We track down the lurking Steel Titan and find out that it's Orthworm. I'm not sure if it's cute or hideous. It has a sort of goofy face which can cover a multitude of sins. Either way, Huey takes care of things with a few hits of Flame Charge. Considering that Orthworm's Iron Tail Mist and Wrap is kind of a meh move. We're not in Gen 1 anymore, friend, where moves like Wrap and Fire Spin would just straight up prevent a Pokemon hit with them from attacking. After we hit him enough, Orthworm bails out of the fight, punching a hole in the mountain instead of digging like worms do? Okay. We have to chase the Titan down on Coryodon a few times before we can kick off the battle. The Titan eats the herbs, and Arvin shows up to have our back. Flame Charge worked last time, so let's just keep using it again. Arvin sends out Toadschool, the tentacle palette swap that's based on a mushroom instead of a jellyfish. Interestingly enough, despite the fact we've seen him use another Pokemon already, he only appears to have one Pokeball available. I wonder what happens if we lose here. Orthworm used Sandstorm instead of doing anything actually dangerous, so we probably don't have to worry about that. Toadschool hitting him with Confusion and then Orthworm getting some bad Confusion luck was all we needed to finish this fight off easily. Unfortunately, Orthworm succeeded his Confusion check when he had only the slightest sliver of health left, so we don't get to see the Titan knock itself out. Toadschool's Grass Knot did the trick though. Time for some more lovingly cooked sandwiches by Arvin, this time featuring the unique ingredient of the salty Herba Mystica. As always, it's time to give Coryodon and Mabostiff their medicine. Coryodon gained the ability to jump higher from the sandwich, and Mabostiff regained his ability to go woof woof. Arvin drops a bit of lore from his book that Titan Pokemon are so big and strong because they're constantly eating the Herba Mystica. Well, now I'm wondering how much Herba Mystica you would need to make a giant Titan Pokemon. With the lurking Steel Titan down, we're going to take a bit of a detour. Pokemon are leveling up pretty quickly, and I was hoping to evolve Darkwing into a Murkrow from a Honchkrow before level 35 so that they could learn Nasty Plot. A bit of Googling reveals that there's a Dusk Stone behind the Montenerva gym, so we're going to sequence break and go pick it up. I'm sure there won't be any detours, and my well-known inability to find a path up the mountain won't bite us in the behind again. Yeah. Everything will be fine. I completed the ascent to the top of the mountain and picked up the Dusk Stone from behind the gym. I then immediately used it to evolve our Murkrow into a Honchkrow. Somewhat unrelated, but I turned into a ghost for the duration of Darkwing's evolution. I guess that would be location appropriate. I'd mentioned earlier that I wanted to evolve Murkrow into a Honchkrow before level 35 so that it would learn Nasty Plot. And well, we've got the Dusk Stone, but Darkwing is already level 35. So, unfortunately, she won't learn Nasty Plot by level up. You can learn it by TM, but thinking about it more, I'm not sure why exactly I wanted to teach her Nasty Plot in the first place. 2 stages up on special attack is always nice, but Honchcrow's a physical attacker. Thinking about it now, I might have confused the idea of a nasty plot Honchcrow with a nasty plot Salazzle. At the very least, Darkwing will have improved base stats now that she's evolved. Our next task is to defeat Kofu, the gym leader of Cascarafa City. I head to the gym. As we approach it, we're treated to a cutscene of Kofu running from the gym in panic. The gym receptionist asks if we're a trainer. When we confirm we are, they explain that Kofu is going to the auction in the nearby Porto Marinera, but he's forgotten his wallet. They say if we deliver his wallet, they'll count it as our gym test. Alright, I guess it's time for us to play mailman for a bit. After heading across the desert, we run into Kofu admiring some flowers outside the city. Unfortunately, he runs off before we can give him his wallet. The perils of being a silent protagonist, I suppose. We make it to the auction at Porto Marinera, where Kofu is panicking about not having his wallet. You think he'd be able to place bids against a tab or something, considering he is a gym leader. Then again, he's a Paldean gym leader, so maybe not the most respected job in society. Oh, I've forgotten my wallet. Can I put my bid on the tab? And what do you do, sir? Well, I'm the gym leader at Cascarafa City. Cash up front, sir. No credit. You really should have led with the fact that you're a chef and you own your own restaurant, Kofu. You think he would have either left his gym trainer as collateral or used his Rotom phone to handle the transfer digitally. Either way, we go to deliver the wallet and Kofu's assistant throws a fit about how his boss is too busy to talk to us and challenges us to a battle. Once again, the perils of being a silent protagonist. Either that or maybe he heard us talking about how we thought Kofu should have left him as collateral. I like to imagine that the protagonist is just standing there holding out the wallet and looking earnest. The battle is nothing special. Kofu has us participate in the auction and buy him his super special seaweed. Well, that was the one time we're going to make use of the auction house this run. I'll note that the auctioneer calls us a little gentleman, so when we combine that with the fact that Arvin calls us his little buddy, I think we can safely conclude that the protagonist is canonically what the kids call a short king. We head back to Cascarafa to challenge Kofu. We once again see the strange trend of the gym leader not having a full move pool. It's so weird to me. The Pokemon would have learned those moves by level up anyway. What's the point of engineering Pokemon like this? Give Veluza Pluck if you want it to have some anti-grass coverage. Give Wugtrio Wrap or Sand Attack if you want to be a bit spicy. Give Carbomino Leer or Ice Punch if you want a more anti-grass loadout. The whole team now has 4 moves. Either we filled the move pool out with baby moves that they should have learned anyway, or each Pokemon has a little bit of a twist to them. I suppose either way I should stop complaining. Either way, despite my complaints, I really like how the cutscene when we trigger the gym battle shows that the people of Cascarafa absolutely love Kofu. Battle start. The battle starts with Zapdos versus Veluza. We start off by hitting Veluza with a Thunder Wave, mainly for the speed drop that comes with paralysis. Now, you might notice that Thunder Wave is a new move, and you would be right. I had a real pain hunting down Palmyfur until I remembered that sandwiches can boost encounter rates. I bought one to boost my electric encounter rate. Next thing you know, I was drowning in Palmyfur. On a related note, the fact that Thunder Wave only has a 90% accuracy constantly throws me off. I thought that the lowered accuracy was a Pokemon Legends Arceus thing, but I looked it up and realized it's been like that since Gen 7? We take a hit of Aqua Cutter in return. I set up a Tailwind and we eat another hit of Aqua Cutter. It's Electro Ball time, baby! Veluza goes down in 1 hit. We're still pretty overleveled from what we needed to do to get through Iono. Thinking about it now, it might have been more interesting to make a detour for this badge first before backtracking to Iono. Kofu follows up with Wugtrio, the convergent evolution with Dugtrio that's some sort of horrifying sea worm instead of a perfectly normal and not at all unsettling group of 3 conjoined moles. We outspeed it and Electro Ball is once again a one-shot. Something I did have to check here, as I remember Dugtrio being really fast, is whether or not Tailwind is what allowed us to outspeed Wugtrio. It looks like Kilowattrel is actually faster than Wugtrio in terms of base speed, but it is really close. Kofu brings out his Crabominable and immediately terrorizes it. Can you imagine spending all that time putting on a fancy party hat and getting ready before immediately being taken down in one shot of Electro Ball? And with that, we're halfway through the path of victory. We hit up our next destination, the base of Team Star's poisoned crew, the Navi squad. Hey, the grunts guarding the gate are arguing with someone who isn't me for once. A small child really wants to see the boss. The small child seems to be more in the know about who I am than the grunt is. He then decides to give the Navi crew time to prepare for my attack by sacrificing his life, because the boss is his compadre. I admire your guts, kid, but I've got a job to do, and that job is dismantling Team Star. Wait, what am I, a cop? The kids send out a Gulpin. I had Zapdos at the front of the party to make use of the rain that cleared up immediately as this battle started. That being said, I didn't really need the boost. We started with a Thunder Wave which missed. I really do miss my 100% accuracy Thunder Wave. Gulpin started stockpiling. The second Thunder Wave connected as Gulpin stockpiled 2. The Zapdos used Tailwind. Gulpin stockpiled 3. Electro Ball took out Gulpin in 1 hit. Look how much your stockpile helped you there. The kids send out a Shroodle, which is a Pokemon who I think is super cool looking and would love to have a chance to use at some point. Maybe a future Pokemon Challenge run with Shroodle and Smeargle? Electro Ball once again and took out Shroodle in one hit. Clive shows up and takes the kid away for a chat. Don't worry, he said he wouldn't bite. Cassiopeia called in and dropped some information about the boss. It always seems like their suggested strategy is just to hit them really hard until they go down. Cassiopeia never suggests that the protagonist uses their big meaty brain to come up with some sort of complicated strategy. We tore through the Team Star barrage in 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Time to fight the boss of the Navi squad, Atticus. As an aside, I actually really like Atticus. The mix of his Ren Fair style of speech combined with being a goth ninja is just a lot of fun. We start the fight off with Zapdos versus Skuntank. We open by using Thunder Wave and then probably get outsped by Skuntank using Sucker Punch. The fact that I'm using a non-attacking move means congratulations on wasting your turn, buddy. We use Tailwind to continue setting up our overwhelming combo. Skuntank hits us with Toxic, so Zapdos is immediately on a timer. Electro Ball one-shots Skuntank. Atticus sends out Muck. Muck is strong enough to survive a hit from our Electro Ball, though he has dropped into the orange. Muck's Sludge Wave doesn't deal a lot of damage, but when Toxic is burning through us, every bit of lost health is painful. Second Electro Ball finishes off Muck. Atticus sends out a Reverum, which made me lose my mind a bit. You have your Reverum on top of your Starmobile, which is a modified Reverum. Wait, this reminds me of something. That's right, don't talk to me or my son ever again. Electro Ball didn't do much damage to Reverum, who finished off Zapdos in one hit of Assurance. I send out Huey next, who takes out Reverum in 2 hits of Flame Charge. Time to break Atticus's ride. Flame Charge isn't dealing much damage to the Starmobile, but we do get caught in a loop of back and forth of using Flame Charge. Atticus does eventually figure out that using Noxious Torque does more damage than trying to hit my Fire-type Pokemon with Flame Charge, so good on him for that. Huey manages to knock the Starmobile into the orange. I plan to go out with a bang using Flare Blitz and getting knocked out from the recoil, but even with all the speed boost from Flame Charge, the Starmobile is still faster than us. We send out Featherrico to finish off the Starmobile, but we get poisoned from all the toxic spikes and are obviously outsped. You think an Ostrich would be faster? Lumina Crash finishes off the Starmobile. Probably would have been faster to just switch out earlier instead of chipping away at it with Flame Charge, but whatever. After beating Atticus, we get a bit more backstory about Team Star. We find out that Atticus made the battle outfits for all the other members of Team Star. A bit of constructive criticism, Atticus. Mila's boots are super cool looking and fit her whole fire goth aesthetic, but they seem like they're too high. Like she can't bend her knees when walking in them. Then again, maybe the problem here is that I just don't understand fashion. We see a bit more backstory about how Team Star was being bullied and them practicing battling in preparation for Operation Star. The small child shows up again and wants Atticus to come back to school because he doesn't want him to be expelled. The kid mentioned that Team Star saved him when he was being bullied. Team Star hasn't heard anything from the big boss, so they've turtled up and are defending their bases instead of going to class. Another random point of interest is that Atticus gives us the TM for Gunk Shot, but looking at his move breakdown, none of his Pokemon actually know Gunk Shot. Wait, do any of the Team Star bosses use the move they give us the TM for? I was going to say that they don't, at least when you battle them the first time, but that's not true. Like half of Erie's Pokemon know Close Combat, which is the TM move that she gives out. I still gotta ask, why though? Half the fun of getting a TM post-boss battle is that you've just seen the boss use a move and now you have access to it. What's the point of just being like, oh, here's a TM for a random move? Sure, the moves they give out are powerful, but they should have taught them to at least one of their Pokemon. Funnily enough is the fact that none of Mila's Pokemon use Flame Charge, but Atticus's Starmobile does know it. Ortega also has 2 Pokemon who know the TM move that he gives out. TM79, Dazzling Gleam, but his Pokemon only use that move in the post-game team, or significantly after he's already given us the TM. This is probably a completely arbitrary complaint, but it's my challenge video, so I can do what I want. Cassiopeia calls us, congratulating us about busting up the Navi squad, and makes some vague comments as usual. Another random aside, even if the Team Star crews are dissolving after I beat each boss, you'd think that the members of each team would go and find solace and protection with any still intact sister squads. Cassiopeia reveals that the end goal of Team Starfall is to take down the big boss. I suspect that there will be lots of clones involved with this. Kenny the supply unit rep shows up to give us some bonus rewards. Our next destination is the Medley Gym to fight the normal gym leader Larry. And what do you know, we run into Nimona. She does want to battle this time, but wants to make sure she matches our levels, so she tells us to crush Larry first. I guess we need to do that to be warmed up for arrival. Looking at Larry's team, I will once again just stare in confusion. Larry's ace Pokemon only knows 2 moves? On a semi-related note, it's strange to me that Glare apparently has 100% accuracy now, but Thunder Wave doesn't. Maybe it's because more Pokemon can learn Thunder Wave over Glare? If you know a reason, please let me know. The gym challenge at the Medley Gym is to order a very specific meal at a local restaurant by putting together clues that were spread around to other challengers. Can you imagine just being a regular tourist with like a single Pokemon who you keep as a pet and just ordering some random meal to try something new while you're on vacation, and then the gym leader just rolls up and stomps you, and you're left with your Pokemon broken and embarrassed at your poor showing and all you wanted to do was have some dinner. Thanks, Larry. The super secret order is a medium serving of grilled rice balls, extra crispy, fire blast style, garnished with lemon. Upon making the correct order, the treasure eatery converts itself into a battle court. Honestly, that's kind of a cool gimmick that I could see fancy restaurants just doing pretty regularly in the Pokemon universe. We also find out that the NPC with the clue eating at the counter of the restaurant is actually the gym leader Larry. They do call him the exceptional everyman after all. Time to battle. I send out Huey to battle Larry's Kamala. We hit Aerial Ace and get tagged with Yawn in return. I swap out Huey to avoid him falling asleep. I swap into Darkwing as due to her insomnia, she's a horrifying freak who doesn't yawn when other people yawn and won't fall asleep as a result. Kamala uses Slam as a free hit and hits us like a truck. Dropping Darkwing into the orange, we outspeed the half-asleep Pokemon and tag her with Night Slash to finish her off. Larry sends out to Dunsparce. We hit Night Slash and get paralyzed with Glare. Seriously, why does it have 100% accuracy? I was going to try to ignore our reduced speed by using Sucker Punch to gain priority, but we were fully paralyzed. Also, based on the order there, we might still outspeed to Dunsparce. To Dunsparce's Hyper Drill knocks us down into the red. Some more bad paralysis luck and Hyper Drill finishes off Darkwing. I sent out Scrooge because he'll take half damage from normal type attacks. Drill Peck knocks to Dunsparce into the orange and we get paralyzed by another piercing glare. To Dunsparce outspeeds us and hits Hyper Drill, which basically does nothing. Another hit by Drill Peck finishes her off. Time for Larry's ace Pokemon, Staraptor. Intimidate lowers our attack. Annoying. As expected, Staraptor outspeeds us, but Facade did basically nothing. We start trying to mine the diamond using Drill Peck. After some back and forth, finally having some good paralysis luck, Scrooge knocks out Staraptor. After the battle, Larry treated me to a lovely meal, which was very nice of him. Time for a fight with my rival. Nimona starts out with Lycanroc. Unfortunately, Huey was at the front of the party, so I have to eat the turn to switch to Donald. We take a hit of Accelerock, which basically just chips the paint. As a quick aside, can we talk about Accelerock for a minute? It's a move that can be learned by 2 Pokemon if you're being generous in the counting. Lycanroc Midday form and Lycanroc Dusk form, and it's their signature move. It's also just a pretty cool name. The problem is that it's literally just a reskin version of Quick Attack, a move that both the Pokemon who learn this move will also learn with a rock typing instead of a normal typing. When you actually look at it, it just feels a little underwhelming to me. Less Pokemon learn Accelerock than do Extreme Speed. I don't know. I guess I just feel that Accelerock should be a reskinned Extreme Speed instead of a reskinned Quick Attack to fit its status as a very exclusive signature move. Now, I'm not going to say that I hate reskin moves in general. They can be fun and I really like Night Slash, which is just a dark reskin of Slash after all. So a question for the audience, what's your favorite reskin version of another move in Pokemon? Post your answer in the comments down below. Anyway, back to the battle. Donald took down Lycanroc in a single hit of Aqua Step, though we did eat another Quick Attack in the process. Nimona sent out Palmo, so I swapped to Featherika because there's no point in being vaporized by a bolt of lightning. Lumina Crash took Palmo down in one blast, as the super effective hit taught me that Palmo is apparently part fighting and not a pure electric type like I had assumed. Goomy comes out next and Lumina Crash knocks him into the orange. The follow-up takes him down. Nimona sends out Skeledirge and we swap to Donald to have a starter match. We Terrastalize and Nimona matches us. Our superpowered Aqua Step one-shots Skeledirge. Given we've just beaten Larry, I feel like my team might be a little over-leveled. It's time for a boss rush. First up is Rhyme, the ghost type specialist of the Montenerva Gym. As we had to sneak our way up here before to snag the Dusk Stone to evolve Darkwing, we do have a fast travel point. So who cares about climbing the mountain again when we can take an air taxi? The Montenerva Gym Challenge is hyping everyone up for Rhyme's rap concert. The way we're going to do that is a series of double battles. It's sort of a fun gimmick that doesn't show up all that much in Scarlet and Violet. Kaz, the first gym trainer, sends out Trumpet and Grievard. I send out Darkwing and Zapdos to match them. Our levels are actually surprisingly close together here. Maybe I'm not as over-leveled as I thought. I start off by having Zapdos use Tailwind to make sure my team are absolutely the fastest moving Pokemon on the field. Darkwing then one-shots Grievard with a hit of Night Slash. Trumpet uses Roleplay, which fails. Maybe they were trying to target Grievard to copy his ability? Granted, for that to be of any use, Taz's Grievard would have had to have the hidden ability Fluffy. Maybe he was hoping that Zapdos had Volt Absorb? A fun little gimmick in this fight is that your Pokemon can have their attack and special attack boosted by the crowd cheering for them. I doubt we needed the boost given the speed boost. Worst case, we would have taken down Trumpet with the old 1-2 punch, but a boosted Electro Ball from Zapdos was enough to one-shot him. Something I could see them doing in a hypothetical hard mode of this game is that our Pokemon would stay out on the battlefield between fights, but this isn't that. We recall our Pokemon and they get healed between every bout. Time for the second battle. Second gym trainer sends out a Haunter and a Mischievous. We start with the same opening as last time, boosting our speed with Tailwind and having Darkwing one-shot Mischievous with Night Slash. Haunter hits Zapdos with Curse, which could have been really interesting if our Pokemon stayed on the field for the entire gym trainer and leader fight, but doesn't matter because our Pokemon won't be out long enough for the Curse to do any real damage. Once again, Zapdos' Electro Ball is enough to polish finish off Haunter. Time for the third double battle, this time against MC Sledge, who sends out a Sableye and a Drifloon. Seeing Drifloon and another ghost-type Pokemon in the field, my initial concern was that Drifloon was going to use self-destruct for explosion and mess up my team while leaving his partner unhurt. This would absolutely be a decent strategy if, say, I only had 2 Pokemon on hand and his Pokemon were faster than mine. We hit Drifloon with Electro Ball in the hope of being able to one-shot him with a super effective move. We knocked him into the orange. As I was hoping for a double knockout, I also targeted Sableye with Night Slash, but it wouldn't have mattered as Drifloon outspeeds Darkwing. The spooky, haunted, hot air balloon goes zoom. Oh yeah, called it. Drifloon uses self-destruct and knocks both members of my team into the orange, putting Zapdos in the process. I thought the return attack of Power Gem would have been enough to finish off either of my Pokemon, but I was lucky and Darkwing held on with 6 health. Another shot of Electro Ball finishes off the fight. Time to fight the gym leader. Rhyme sends out Bayonet and Mimikyu. We once again start with our standard opener for these double battles. It looks like Bayonet is slightly dangerous to us given that the bulk of our party is partly flying, which is weak against Ice-type moves, and Icy Wind hits everybody on my side of the field. It does trigger Zapdos' wind power though. The supercharged Electro Ball was enough to take down Bayonet. Rhyme sends out a Houndstone as her replacement Pokemon. Zapdos' Electro Ball was enough to finally take down Mimikyu after a few Night Slashes chipped away at her health. Darkwing's Night Slash was enough to one-shot Houndstone. Cool new Ghost Doggo Pokemon is over too quickly for us to see what it can do. It's 2-on-1 and I have the advantage. It's time to fight Rhyme's ace Pokemon, Toxtricity, which fits pretty well with its punk rock theme and Rhyme's rap career. We hit Toxtricity with Thunder Wave to lock it down in a move that wouldn't have worked at all if Rhyme didn't Terralicize to Ghost, causing it to lose the immunity that comes with Toxtricity's electric typing. Either way, it ends up not mattering at all, considering that Darkwing's Night Slash just one-shots him. With Rhyme out of the way, our next destination is the Quaking Earth Titan. Great Tusk outspeeds us and hits like a train with Brick Break knocking Donald into the orange. We respond with Aqua Step, which does about half of its health and damage. Fortunately, the speed boost from Aqua Step is enough to have us outspeed him and knock him into the red. Instead of hitting us with another Brick Break and taking out Donald, Great Tusk decides to use Knockoff, which lets us hit another Aqua Step and finish this stage of the fight. As we approach Great Tusk for the second stage of the fight, we notice a small child just chilling there, next to this monstrous Pokemon, apparently having no fear of death. I suppose he lives in Paldea, so death would be a blessing at this point. Time for a team battle with Arven. I love how we know that Great Tusk knows a move that will do massive damage to Donald, and then once again he just decides not to do that. Arven slows down Great Tusk using Scary Face. We probably don't need the speed boost, but Aqua Step is always nice. Leftovers takes the edge off the natural sandstorm in the area. Another Aqua Step and Scovillain's Razor Leaf knocks Great Tusk down into the orange. Great Tusk hits a critical Stomping Tantrum and takes Donald out of the fight. I send out Featherika, who finishes things off with a Lumina Crash. I can't believe the small child didn't help us. Well, he's absolutely not going to get any of Arven's delicious sandwiches. Delicious, nutritious, and not at all suspicious. Arven makes some sandwiches out of the sour herba mystica, which is great for boosting overall health. After eating Arven's sandwiches, Koraidon gains the ability to glide, and Mabostiv has no apparent changes from eating the sandwich. Our next destination is picking a fight with Tulip, the gym leader of the Psychic-type gym in Alfrenada. Wait, Psychic-type gym? And the gym leader's name is Tulip, you say? Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Are you sure she doesn't run the Grass-type gym? It would be thematically appropriate after all. Taking a quick look at Tulip's team, her Pokemon do know a few decent moves for type coverage, given that each member has a move that's good against either Ghost or Dark-type Pokemon, leaving a Bug-type Pokemon as surprisingly the best choice here. That being said, time for the gym. And Nimona shows up and tells us that we're doing well and that we're in the top 10% of trainers by having gym badge number 6. She immediately challenges us to a fight warm-up. Once again, we end up in a bit of an awkward situation given Nimona opens with Lycanroc and I had Darkwing in the front of the party to deal with Psychics. Throwing stones at birds hurts them, you know? I'll make the same choice I did in the last fight by immediately swapping to Donald. We ate a hit of Rock Slide on the switch and were then outsped to get hit again. Aqua Step was enough to one-shot her though. Nimona sends out Palmont next, and I have a moment of honor waiting to properly switch out once her Pokemon hits the field. This wasn't part of the rule, but a moment of honor before reason. Either way, I switch to Featherika and eat a hit of Thunder Wave. We're then immediately outsped, hit with Spark, and then have some bad paralysis luck. Another hit of Spark drops Featherika into the orange, and again, more bad paralysis luck. Another hit of Spark leaves us with 3 health remaining. Thank God for leftovers. Lumina Crash knocks Palmont from a full health down to a sliver. Given our paralysis, we aren't gonna outspeed him. He doesn't take any chances and knocks Featherika out with a quick attack. I send out Zapdos and use Electro Ball to finish the job. Unfortunately, Palmont was hiding Volt Absorb in his back pocket. Given that both of Zapdos' attacking moves are electric type, she is literally unable to hurt him. I swap to Huey and eat a brutal hit of Spark, which drops us into orange health. I hit with Flame Charge, which once again knocks Palmont back down to a sliver. I really should have just used Flare Blitz here and eaten the knockback. Palmont uses Thunder Wave instead of Spark, which leaves us with with a chance here. I used Quick Attack, Palmod didn't, and Paralysis Luck was on our side, so we finally knocked him out. Now excuse me as I wipe some sweat from my brow. Next up is Nemona's Sliggoo. Unfortunately, with Featherika down, we don't really have anything to hit extra hard with. We have some bad Paralysis Luck and eat a hit of Sliggoo's Dragon Pulse. Huey attempts to go down in a blaze of glory, hitting Flare Blitz and critting to knock Sliggoo into the orange, even though fire isn't very effective against dragons. Surprisingly enough, he survives with a Sliver, which Sliggoo then snuffs out with another blast of Dragon Pulse. I send out Zapdos and used Electro Ball, which did much less damage than I thought it would. Dragon Pulse knocks Zapdos into the orange. We set up a Tailwind to boost our speed and in the hope that a supercharged Electro Ball will be enough to deal with Sliggoo. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough health, and another shot of Dragon Pulse takes out Zapdos. I send out Scrooge and use Drill Peck, which does enough damage to take out Sliggoo. Nemona sends out her final Pokemon Skeledirge. We leave Scrooge out and use Drill Peck, which does a bit of damage. Relicis Skeledirge hits a Torch Song, which knocks Scrooge down to 1 health point. We get another hit of Drill Peck in before going down. I send out Darkwing next. Skeledirge outspeeds us and shoots us down with another hit of Torch Song. It's all coming down to a fight of starter versus starter. Fortunately, I'm faster and 1 hit of Aqua Step is enough to finish off Skeledirge. After the fact, I realized I didn't Terralicize Donald and would have been so salty if we didn't get the knockout because of that. Okay, it's actually time to fight the gym leader now. We send out Darkwing to fight Tulip's Ferrigiraffe. Our first Night Slash knocks him into the orange. His Crunch does a bit of damage and drops Darkwing's defense. A second hit of Night Slash finishes him off. Tulip sends out Gardevoir. Gardevoir outspeeds us and hits Dazzling Gleam, which knocks out Darkwing. Oops. I send out Scrooge. Gardevoir goes first and does a small bit of damage with Psychic. I use Hone Claws to boost Scrooge's attack and accuracy. We take a bit more damage from Psychic and our Steel Wing one-shots her. Tulip sends out Espithra. Espithra's Shadow Ball knocks us into the orange, but doesn't do too much damage. Our Drill Peck does good damage, knocking Espithra into the orange as well. Espithra's Shadow Ball crits and knocks us into the red, but we're still in the game. Again, thank you, leftovers. Our Drill Peck finishes her off. Tulip sends out Florges, which surprisingly doesn't have a grass type and is just pure fairy. She Terralicizes Florges and then knocks out Scrooge with Moonblast. I send out Zapdos and immediately have her use Thunder Wave. Florges' Moonblast immediately knocks us down into the orange, and I promptly have some PTSD flashbacks to trying to keep my team alive against a Sylveon who likes to spam Moonblast. Zapdos uses Electro Ball, which doesn't do anywhere near as much damage as I hope, but we had some good paralysis luck, and Florges wasn't able to move. I have Zapdos use Roost to recover some health, but we get hit with another Moonblast, which leaves us in worse shape given our special attack fell. I sacrifice Zapdos by having to use Tailwind to make sure my Pokemon are faster than Florges going forward. I send out Donald and have him use Aqua Step, which knocks Florges into the orange. However, I forgot about Donald's secondary fighting type, and Moonblast one-shots him. I send out Huey, and Flare Blitz finishes the battle and earns us the badge. Our next destination is Glacedo Mountain to fight Grusha, the Ice-type gym leader for our last gym. Glacedo Gym's challenge is the Snow Slope Run, based on Grusha's history as a snowboarder. So, a dumb little race down the mountain riding a Koraidon. We got through that without issue, and now it's time to fight Grusha. Grusha walks onto the battle court, and he's just so cute. He starts talking about how winter mountains are dangerous and can throw your life off course. Is this a metaphor? I mean, if you want to, you can throw my life off course anytime, Grusha baby. He says that Pokemon battles are also dangerous, and today is a bad day to battle him. He asks if we want to battle. Guys, I think Grusha has some unresolved trauma. His heart might be frozen over like the Ice-type Pokemon he specializes in, but I think I can fix him. I can help thaw his frozen heart and help him recover from the trauma of his past and give him something new to live for. The first step here is defeating him in battle. I send out Huey and Grusha sends out Frostmoth. A quad weakness to fire? Get wrecked. I have Huey use Flame Charge and one-shots Frostmoth even though she outleveled us. Grusha sends out Titan next. We hit Flame Charge and despite being super effective, it does next to nothing. The Titan returns fire with Liquidation, critting and knocking us down to 5 health. I decide to make the sacrificial play of having Huey use Flare Blitz and eat the knockout from the knockback. The problem is that Titan knows the Ice-type Quick Attack, Ice Shard, knocks us out before we can go down in a blaze of glory. I send out Featherika. Lumina Crash does a bit more damage, but still not as much as I was expecting. Looking at the stats for Titan after the fact, it actually doesn't have as high of a defense or special defense as I thought. It just has a massive health stat. The Titan hits Ice Spinner, which does a decent amount of damage. Another hit of Lumina Crash takes the Titan out of the fight. Grusha sends out Baratic. Lumina Crash does about a third of his health and damage. Icicle Crash knocks Featherika into the red. Baratic uses Aqua Jet to outspeed us and get the knockout. I send out Zapdos and hit Baratic with Thunder Wave to lock him down. Icicle Crash ruins our day and takes out Zapdos in one hit. Low Sweep drops Baratic into the red. Baratic returns fire with Earthquake, which does like 40% of my health and damage. This isn't good. Aqua Step finishes off Baratic and boosts Donald's speed. Grusha sends out Altaria. Donald uses a low sweep, knocking Altaria into the orange, but Altaria's Hurricane finishes off Donald. Curse you, secondary fighting type! I send out Scrooge. Steel Wing leaves Altaria with a sliver of health. Altaria uses Ice Beam, which does surprisingly little damage. One more hit of Steel Wing wins us our final badge. Grusha says we melted straight through his ice. This definitely feels like the start of something to me. I say I want to get a photo with him to celebrate my victory, and he gets a bit embarrassed. So cute. It looks like we're doing hand hearts behind his scarf. Oh yeah, there's something here. I can't stay in Glacido Mountain to romance Grusha forever though. Wait for me. I'll come back one day. Our next destination is the Team Star Ferry crew. We meet up with Clive and have a discussion regarding Cassiopeia. I say Cassiopeia is a bag of riddles, baby. Clive says he doesn't think that Cassiopeia has any bad feelings towards Team Star, so there must be some reason that we're doing this. Now, if Cobalt or Clive had gone to class at all this semester, they might be aware that the team names of Team Star are all names of stars in the constellation of Cassiopeia, but I'm sure that doesn't mean anything. Approaching the base, we see that the team leader is having a tutor come and continue his education, even if he's skipping class. The tutor challenges us to a Pokemon battle. Despite his Pokemon being a higher level than ours, he isn't even really a speed bump for us. Cassiopeia calls and lets us know that the base belongs to the Team Star Ferry crew. The Ruchba Squad. The Ruchba Squad. The Ruchba? How do I pronounce this? Fuck it. Ruchba. Ruchba. Cassiopeia lets us know that Ortega is the mechanic of the team. It's interesting that he's the mechanic, and yet he uses fairy-type Pokemon, who'd be weak to steel types. According to Cassiopeia, once again there is no strategy to use here except beat everyone up until the boss comes out. We tear through the Star Barrage without an issue, and it's time to fight the boss. Apparently Ortega was expecting someone taller when we rolled up, but the protagonist is canonically a short king and not some sort of big beefy black belt type. I send out Scrooge first, and Ortega sends out Azumarill. I decided I want to save Scrooge for later and swap to Zapdos. Azumarill uses Charm to ruin my attack stat. However, will I survive? I use Thunder Wave to lock Azumarill down. It hits Aqua Tail, which does a surprising amount of damage to knock Zapdos into the orange. But Electro Ball one-shots it. Ortega sends out Wigglytuff. I use Roost to restore Zapdos' health. Wigglytuff hits Play Rough, which also lowers our attack again. Oh no. Zapdos uses Tailwind. Unfortunately, Play Rough does enough damage to knock Zapdos out of the fight, so once again, I miss my chance to use the supercharged Electro Ball. I send out Scrooge. Steel Wing knocks Wigglytuff into the orange. Wigglytuff uses Charm to lower my attack, which is actually a problem now. Another hit of Steel Wing finishes off Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff's cute charm triggers right as she goes down, and Scrooge falls in love, which is hilarious given that Scrooge basically just put her in the ground, so that probably says something questionable about his taste. Ortega's next Pokemon is Dash Bun. Scrooge uses Hone Claws to boost his attack back up as we eat a crunch. Dash Bun uses Baby Doll Eyes to drop my attack again as I Hone Claws to further boost my attack. We eat another crunch as I continue to boost my attack with Hone Claws. Each turn of leftovers heals half the damage of eating a crunch, so I take the chance to keep boosting my stats. Dash Bun knocks us into the orange, and our supercharged Steel Wing one-shots him in return. Time for Ortega's final Pokemon, his tricked out car. The Starmobile outspeeds us and does next to nothing in damage. One hit of Steel Wing does about half their health and damage in return. Another hit of Steel Wing leaves the Starmobile with a sliver of health. We get knocked into the red and finish the fight with a third and final Steel Wing. After beating Ortega, it's time for some more backstory of Team Star. Specifically, Ortega struggling to get the Starmobile working and making an offhanded remark that he should have had his mother buy him a car instead, and getting called out by the rest of the team for relying on his family money. Once we hop out of the flashback, Harrington the tutor shows up and asks Ortega to talk with Clive, who he says is a distant acquaintance of his. Clive asks Ortega why he joined Team Star, and Ortega says he was being bullied as well. They mention that the bullies no longer attend the academy, and then Harrington mentions that he was the former director of the academy and gives us some more Team Star backstory. 18 months earlier, Team Star confronted their bullies, which caused a scandal. The bullies dropped out of the academy. Clive says there's no records of that. Man, the power of the student council vice president, am I right? Harrington mentions that the records don't exist because the deputy director deleted all of them. Clive says what everyone's thinking with, why would anyone do that? I mean, if it was an attempt to cover his ass, it doesn't make sense considering that bullying going on in school is pretty standard. No one really cares, even if the teachers were ignoring things. Deleting the records feels like it would be something more serious than anything else going on here. A real case of the cover-up is worse than the crime. Harrington says that a certain student showed up and said they take responsibility for everything and asked that they be punished instead of Team Star. Harrington accepted and assigned 18 months of overseas study to the student who took responsibility. According to Harrington, this wasn't a punishment, but was a chance to rest and recover at home, in the Galar region. Wait, we just moved back to Paldea from Galar, right? Are we hinting towards a plot twist where the protagonist was involved in everything with Team Star from the start? we the big boss of Team Star? Do we think it's some sort of multiple personality thing? The teachers all resigned due to the scandal. Harrington apologizes to Clive for all the trouble he caused. What a good guy, apologizing to the students for everything. After finding all that out, Cassiopeia calls and makes some more vague comments. Cassiopeia mentions that Clive is reliable and says that he reminds them of the gang back in the day, and talks a bit about how Team Star was formed by students being bullied at school. Cassiopeia mentions that the bullies didn't even put up a fight when Team Star confronted them. I suppose school operates on prison rules, where if somebody messes with you, you go after them like a rabid raccoon. The support supply unit rep, Penny, then shows up to give us more Pokemon materials and have some further discussion about Team Star. Given that I have 8 badges now, I take a quick side trip to buy some mints to swap around the natures of my team, mainly swapping for attack up and special attack down or vice versa, based on what I've been using the Pokemon for. Our next destination is the False Dragon Titan. As we soar towards the map location, we run afoul of some Paldean Aviation Authority PAA guidelines, specifically that you're not allowed to take a phone call while flying your dragon motorcycle. We immediately find ourselves forced to the ground so we can answer the phone. It's our friend Arvin saying that the False Dragon Titan is located around here. After a bit of exploration, we trigger the fight. Dondozo, the False Dragon Titan. I send out Donald and have him use Ice Spinner because apparently I can't work out what the word false means in the context of the False Dragon Titan. Dondozo's body slam in return does a significantly larger amount of damage. I have Donald start using random moves to see what does the most damage before a critical body slam takes him out of the fight. I send out Zapdos and her Electro Ball finishes off this stage of the fight no problem. We link up with Arvin for the second portion of the fight. I left Donald at the front of the party, so instead of switching out, I decide to start spamming Low Sweep to ruin the Titan's speed. Dondozo goes down and I have to confess that Arvin's Greedent really did the bulk of work in this fight. We're about to go and make the sandwiches from the herbs when it's revealed this is a multi-stage Titan fight, and now we need to fight Tatsugiri, the False Dragon Titan. At least Tatsugiri is actually part Dragon type. I continue my strategy of just low sweeping to ruin Tatsugiri's speed, given that Tatsugiri is faster than us and has a move that can hit both of us in Icy Wind, which also ruins our speed. Once again, Greedent seems to be doing the bulk of the work, knocking Tatsugiri into the red before being knocked out. I was concerned when this happened, considering Arvin only has 1 Pokemon on hand, and I wasn't sure if the game was going to consider this a loss, but losing a partner isn't enough to stop me. Tatsugiri did some massive damage to Donald after we missed a Mega Kick and got hit with Dragon's Breath, knocking us down from full health into the red. One final low sweep finishes off the fight. Arvin collects the spicy Herba Mystica and makes us some more sandwiches. Mabostiff regains the ability to walk. Coryodon gains the ability to climb up any vertical, basically going from a dragon cycle to a spider cycle. Professor Sada calls to congratulate us on helping Coryodon get better and says that she is glad to get in touch with Arvin, as he's the only one who can open her lab. Arvin gives us a bit more backstory about how this is the first time he heard Professor Sada's voice in years, and how his mom was always way more busy with her work than taking care of him. Yay, parental trauma. Our next destination is Team Star's fighting crew, the Calf Squad. Cassiopeia calls and mentions that after we take down boss number 5, we'll need to handle the secret mastermind. Cassiopeia hopes that they will come out into the open once we've defeated all the squad bosses. After Cassiopeia hangs up, Clive thanks us for helping him to understand what's going on with Team Star and then goes ahead to scout the base. When we arrive at the base, our buddy Clive is picking a fight with Eerie, the boss. There's a pretty funny bit here where Carmen, a Team Star grunt who actually has a name, comes out and starts dressing the boss down for standing guard in front of the base and tiring herself out. We beat the grunt without much issue. Wait, if they have a name, do they get to be a minion? As always, the Star Barrage isn't a problem. I adjust my movesets again. 3rd time's a charm? I send out Featherica. There's the expected back and forth of Sucker Punch and Lumina Crash doing more damage than I'd like to Featherica, but we take Toxicroak down. Honor before reason keeps me from switching Featherica out for Huey, which would have been the smart move. Not switching Pokemon wasn't part of the rules. Cobalt, you fool! Eerie sends out Lucario and I hit Lumina Crash again. Dark Pulse takes us out. I send out Donald. Lucario outspeeds us and hits Aura Sphere, which drops us into the orange. Low Sweep finishes off Lucario. Eerie sends out Passimian, who outspeeds us and hits Close Combat for a knockout. I send out Huey and use Aerial Ace, which crits and takes Passimian into the red. Passimian's Rock Tomb takes us out. I send out Zapdos and use Electro Ball to take out Passimian. Eerie sends out Annihilate. Zapdos uses Hurricane, which knocks Annihilate into the orange. Annihilate's Ice Punch drops Zapdos into the red with 6 health remaining. I trust in the heart of the cards and go for another Hurricane. Luck is with us and Annihilate goes down. The Calf Starmobile comes out. I have Zapdos use Hurricane and it hits again. The Starmobile takes down Zapdos with Combat Torque. I send out Scrooge and have him start to use Drill Peck. The Starmobile starts to boost its stats and I take the chance to boost my own with Iron Defense. Combat Torque paralyzes Scrooge? That's something I haven't seen before. We also have some bad paralysis luck. We managed to survive another hit and get a shot of our own in. Scrooge goes down. I send out Darkwing and I'm about to accept that I'm gonna lose this when I have a realization. I actually still have an ace up my sleeve that I've forgotten about. Darkwing's Terra type is Flying. I Terralicize Darkwing to
to eliminate my weakness to fighting type moves. This is a whole different Pokemon battle now. I'm still in this. The Starmobile outspeeds us and uses combat torque to knock us into the orange. It absolutely would have knocked us out if I didn't Terralicize. Darkwing hits Air Cutter and knocks the Starmobile out. Let's go. It's flashback time. We find out that Aerie taught Team Star to be good at Pokemon battling. She says she respects us and would give us her badge even if she wasn't required to by the code. She also mentions that even though we're part of Operation Starfall, she can tell that we aren't a bad person based on how our Pokemon look at us with such trust. That's something that a hero would say to a bad guy. Clive and Carmen show up to ask some more questions. Carmen gives some more backstory about last year at the academy and how she was jealous of Aerie and started bullying her, only for everyone involved to get a taste for suffering and start bullying Carmen as well. Aerie was kind to Carmen after people started bullying her and invited her to join Team Star. Clive mentions that there are rumors that Team Star has also been engaged in bullying. Carmen deflects with, "After hearing my story, do you think that's true?" I mean, it might not exactly be the same, but pressuring people to join your child game still feels like bullying to me, Carmen. Something that I did see happening at the start of the game with the Team Star grunts trying to force poor Penny to join them. Unless that was some sort of false flag psyop shenanigans. What do you think? Was the Team Star grunts trying to pressure Penny into joining the team some sort of false flag? Cassiopeia calls us up and gives us some league points and TM recipes. Clive is the supply unit rep this go round. Cassiopeia says that the last thing on the agenda is beating the big boss. Cassiopeia then confesses that they're the big boss and says that they'll be waiting for us in the schoolyard after dark. Clive makes a vague comment about having an idea about the true identity of the boss. Our next destination is the Elite Four. I do spend a bit of time preparing, specifically hunting down some TMs in the wild. We're still going after the league with a massively underleveled team, so it should be interesting to see how far we can get. Fighting the Paldea Elite Four requires we take a test with Rika that includes such difficult questions as, where did you go to school? Who was your starter Pokemon? Do you like Pokemon? She says that we're the first person to pass on our first try since Nimona. If she's being honest, there's something so incredibly sad about that. Like, that's not the sort of thing you should mention to anyone at all ever, outside of internal memos where you express extreme concern about that fact. The league should be having all hands on deck incredibly high priority meetings saying, why are trainers not passing our incredibly easy examinations on their first try? Is there lead in the Paldean water supply or something? Does the radiation from the Terra Orbs cause brain damage? This seems like a crisis. Honestly, I should get back in the flying taxi and head straight back to Galar, you know, for my health. The first member of the Elite Four we're gonna battle is Rika. She's a ground type specialist. Let's see how far we can make it before she shuts us down. Rika sends out Whiscash and I send out Donald. I use Ice Spinner, but I forget it isn't super effective due to Whiscash's secondary water typing. Oops. Whiscash sets up a future sight. That's right, the terrifying catfish can also see the future. Aqua Step knocks Whiscash into the orange. Earth Power does the same to us. Another Aqua Step knocks Whiscash into the red. Earth Power leaves us with 9 health points. Thank you, Leftovers. Okay, to be honest here, we would have survived that, given that Leftovers only healed 6 health. Another Aqua Step will finish off Whiscash. Wait, no, we just got tagged by that future sight she fired off and Donald went down. Excellent planning, Rika. I send out Huey and have him use Sunny Day. Whiscash uses Muddy Water, which does decent damage. With the sun shining, Solar Beam goes brr. Whiscash goes down. Rika sends out Donphan. Solar Beam does a decent chunk of damage. Donphan uses Stone Edge and would have absolutely taken Huey down, but it missed. Solar Beam takes Donphan down to a sliver, but she hangs on. Stone Edge takes out Huey. I send out Darkwing and Air Cutter finishes off Donphan. Rika sends out Dugtrio, who uses Sandstorm. Darkwing uses Night Slash, which misses. On stream I speculated this was because Dugtrio had the ability Sand Veil, which was correct checking after the fact. Dugtrio uses Rock Slide, which crit and takes out Darkwing. I send out Zapdos. Rock Slide knocks us into the red and makes me flinch, breaking my setup of Tailwind. I try for the Tailwind setup again, and I'm surprisingly lucky given that Dugtrio went for Sucker Punch. Hurricane knocks Dugtrio into the orange, and Rock Slide takes out Zapdos. I send out Feather Rika, hoping to take advantage of Rika's Pokemon generally being high defense but lower special defense. Lumina Crash takes out Dugtrio. Rika sends out Camerupt. Lumina Crash does nowhere near as much damage as I would have liked. Camerupt uses Yawn. A second Lumina Crash takes out Camerupt, but Feather Rika falls asleep. This might be a problem. Though, the fight has been much closer than I thought it would be. Rika sends out Clodsire. I switch to Scrooge so I have something that I can fight back with. I start boosting my defense with Iron Defense. Clodsire uses Protect. Good choice, bro. A second Protect blocks my Steel Wing. A second Steel Wing does a bit of damage and boosts my defense. Clodsire's Liquidation does next to nothing against my boosted defense. It becomes a back and forth given that the only move Clodsire has that can do anything to us are Liquidation Evasion and Protect, and we have leftovers keeping us healthy. Thank you, leftovers. After the back and forth, we take down Clodsire. I have no right to have won that fight. I heal and adjust my party's movesets, and it's time for the next fight. I send out Huey, and Poppy sends out Copperajah. I have Huey set up Sunny Day to boost the strength of his fire-type moves. Copperajah sets up some Stealth Rocks. Flame Charge knocks Copperajah into the orange. Copperajah hits back with Heavy Slam in return. A second Flame Charge takes down Copperajah. Poppy sends out Magnezone. I have Huey use a Flare Blitz. Magnezone survives because of its sturdy ability. Magnezone takes us down in Discharge. I send out Zapdos and use Electro Ball to take down Magnezone. Poppy sends out Bronzong. I have Zapdos set up a Tailwind. Bronzong knocks us into the orange with Zen Headbutt. The supercharged Electro Ball one-shots Bronzong. Poppy sends out Corviknight. We fry his feathers with Electro Ball, but he holds on with a sliver of health. That being said, boosting your defense against a special attacker is worse than useless. A second Electro Ball takes him down. Poppy sends out Tinkaton. I set up another Tailwind to ensure that my Pokemon will be faster if Zapdos goes down. Stone Edge takes down Zapdos. I switch to Scrooge and set up a substitute. Tinkaton Hammer breaks the substitute. I use Iron Defense to boost my stats. Tinkaton's Play Rough does next to nothing. I set up another substitute. Tinkaton uses Gigaton Hammer, which crits and pops the substitute again. Stone Edge chips the paint. I boost with Iron Defense again. Our defense is high enough that Gigaton Hammer does a whopping 19 damage when it hits. I set down another substitute, which drops us into the red. Tinkaton crits with Stone Edge to pop our substitute. One final Iron Defense to max out our defense boosts. Body Press one-shots Tinkaton. We heal up and adjust, and it's time to fight our old buddy Larry. Is Larry a gym leader who moonlights as an Elite Four member, or an Elite Four member who moonlights as a gym leader? I send out Zapdos, and Larry sends out Tropius. Zapdos sets up a Tailwind. Tropius uses Sunny Day. Oh, Larry is stealing my strategy from earlier. Electro Ball knocks Tropius into the orange. Tropius uses Dragon Pulse? Wait, what? Second Electro Ball knocks Tropius into the red. Air Slash doesn't do much damage in return. The third Electro Ball finishes off Tropius. Seriously though, why do the setup for Solar Beam spam if you're not going to use it at all? Larry sends out Altaria. I have Zapdos set up another Tailwind. Altaria takes down Zapdos with a critical Ice Beam. I send out Donald. Ice Spinner takes out Altaria in one hit. Enjoy your quad weakness to Ice, you jerk. Larry sends out Staraptor. Ice Spinner knocks Staraptor into the orange, but Brave Bird one-shots Donald in return. I send out Darkwing and miss an Icy Wind. Staraptor's Brave Bird knocks us down to 1 health point because Darkwing didn't want me to be sad. The Staraptor feigns due to recoil damage. Larry sends out an Electric-type Oricorio. Oricorio outspeeds us and knocks out Darkwing with a Revelation Dance. I send out Featherika and hit Lumina Crash. Oricorio's Revelation Dance knocks us into the orange. Fortunately, the second Lumina Crash takes it down. Larry sends out Flamigo. We do a bit of damage with Lumina Crash, but Brave Bird takes us down in the process. Send out Scrooge. We take a hit from Close Combat and set up a substitute, dropping us into the orange. Close Combat pops the substitute. Flamigo dodged my Screech. Another Close Combat takes Scrooge down. I send out Huey. I have Huey use Flare Blitz to take a chance on Flamigo's lower defense, and it pays off. Flamigo goes down. We win. Despite the fact that we went down there, I think we've got all the right pieces to win this fight. I start off with Donald this time. We get hit with Super Fang, but Ice Spinner takes down Noivern in one hit. Enjoy your quad weakness to ice. Hassel sends out Dragalge. I leave out Donald. A note from Future Cobalt. This was probably not the right move. Ice Spinner knocks him into the orange, and we also get poison from Poison Point. Thunderbolt takes down Donald. I switch to Darkwing and use Icy Wind. A note from my future self. This was also probably not the right move. Icy Wind knocks Dragalge into the red and drops his speed. A Thunderbolt knocks Darkwing into the red to match. A second hit of Icy Wind takes out Dragalge. Hassel sends out Haxorus. I leave Darkwing out as a sacrifice and go for Icy Wind. Haxorus outspeeds us with Rock Tomb, but it misses. Icy Wind crits, drops Haxorus into the orange and lowers his speed. The speed drop is enough to turn the tables, and Darkwing drops Haxorus into the red with another Icy Wind. But Haxorus's Dragon Claw takes down Darkwing. I send out Scrooge and use Body Press to take down Haxorus. Hassel sends out Flapple. Here's the point where I'd love to say, enjoy your quad weakness to ice, but all my Pokemon with Ice-type moves have already gone down. Flapple outspeeds us and uses Dragon Rush, but it misses. Scrooge takes the chance to put down a substitute. Flapple's Dragon Rush isn't very effective, and more importantly, it doesn't break our substitute. I use Iron Defense to boost Scrooge's stats. A second Dragon Rush breaks the substitute, as Iron Defense boosts our defense again. Flapple uses Leech Seed. This might be annoying later. We throw down another substitute. One more Iron Defense maxes out our defense stat. Our max power Body Press one-shots Flapple. Hassel sends out Bexcalibur. Body Press knocks Bexcalibur into the orange. After surviving through a variety of attacks, our substitute fades, but a second Body Press takes down Bexcalibur. It really is adorable how proud Hassel is of us managing to beat him. Time to fight the top champion Geeta. I send out Donald and Geeta sends out Espithra, which, well, that isn't a good matchup. I swap to Darkwing. It's pretty funny when Lumina Crash, a move that I love, just does nothing to Darkwing. Espithra sets up Reflect. I think that might end up being annoying, but I do have Donald to deal with it using Brick Break if necessary. Darkwing's Night Slash does around 40% of her health and damage. Without Reflect, I think we might have had Water in the red. Dazzling Gleam knocks Darkwing into the orange. Another Night Slash leaves Espithra in the red. Sucker Punch finishes off Espithra. Ida sends out Kingambit. I leave out Darkwing and use Icy Wind to drop his speed. It might not have been a sacrifice I needed to make, but whatever. I send out Donald and use Brick Break, which crits to take Kingambit out. That's right, how do you enjoy your quad? Wait, a couple weakness to fighting? Ida sends out Go-Goat and I switch to Huey. Flare Blitz knocks Go-Goat into the red. Then Headbutt knocks Huey into the orange as another Flame Charge finishes off Go-Goat. I switch to Zapdos as Veluza comes out and set up a Tailwind. Ice Fang knocks Zapdos into the orange, but Electro Ball takes out Veluza. Gita sends out Avalugg. Electro Ball knocks Avalugg into the red as Avalanche takes down Zapdos. I switch back to Huey and Flame Charge to finish off Avalugg. Gita sends out Glimora. I set up a Sunny Day and immediately get taken out by Sledge Wave. I send out Donald. Glimora outspeeds us and Dazzling Gleam knocks Donald down into the red. Brick Break knocks Glimora into the orange and triggers Toxic Debris. A second Dazzling Gleam takes down Donald. I send out Featherika. Lumina Crash doesn't do much damage, but it does knock Glimora into the red. Parablast leaves Featherika with 7 health. We then have a hilarious moment where Leftovers heals Featherika and the poisoning immediately knocks her out. I send out Scrooge, my last Pokemon. Glimora outspeeds us and hits a Terrablast to knock us into the orange. Body Press finishes off Glimora. Where was your I can't hold myself back in a fight there, Gita, huh? I had a harder time fighting a toddler than I did you. The entire Elite Four celebrates my victory and officially becoming a champion. Nimona shows up and is super excited that I did it. She's ready to have a proper battle with me, but Gita points out that this isn't a good place to have our fated match. We decide to fight in Mesagoza, and Nimona runs away to prepare for the battle. Nimona says that having us as her rival was the treasure that she was looking for her treasure hunt. Aw, that's so sweet. Following the suggested order, we're actually going to give Nimona some time to get ready and take care of a few things first. First on the docket is fighting Cassiopeia. We head to the academy to meet up with the mysterious boss of Team Star. Hey, Clive's already here. Wait, Clive is actually the director of the academy? Shock! Gasp! I mean, the game telegraphed it really hard. I've admitted it before and I'll admit it again. If the game committed to the bit a bit harder, I would have easily been like, oh, Clive's just some random other student. Maybe if he actually claimed to be a student council member or something. But there's nothing we can do about it now. It's really funny that the protagonist can just call out Clive that they already knew that he was the director. Director Clavel also claims to be Cassiopeia, the big boss of Team Star. An obvious lie. Once again, pretty funny that the protagonist can basically go, cut the shit, no you aren't, when he makes the claim. Regardless, it's time to battle. Director Clavel sends out Orangu, and I send out Darkwing. Darkwing uses Night Slash to knock Orangu into the orange. Orangu sets down a Reflect. This might be annoying. A second Night Slash takes him down. I switch to Huey as Clavel sends out Abomasnow. I hope you enjoy your quad weakness to fire. Flare Blitz knocks Abomasnow into the orange as he sets up Aurora Veil. A second hit of Flare Blitz takes him down. Clavel sends out Gyarados as I switch to Zapdos. I use Electro Ball, but with all the defense boosts on Gyarados' side of the field, we don't even knock him into the orange. Apparently, Gyarados does indeed enjoy his quad weakness to electricity. Gyarados hits us with a critical Stone Edge in return, which we only survive due to Zapdos toughing it out so I don't feel sad. Reflect wears off and a second Electro Ball knocks Gyarados into the red. Zapdos goes down to another Stone Edge. I send out Huey and take down Gyarados with a Flame Charge, with the idea of spending a turn using Sunny Day to break Aurora Veil. But before I have a chance, the snow stops and Aurora Veil fades away with it. Clavel sends out Houndoom and I switch to Donald. It starts to rain, which is a nice bonus to my water moves. Houndoom outspeeds us and hits Thunderfang, which does a surprisingly small amount of damage. In turn, Liquidation one-shots Houndoom. Clavel sends out Poltegeist. I counter by sending out Darkwing again. Poltegeist outspeeds us and ruins our attack by burning us with Will-O-Wisp. Night Slash still knocks it into the orange though. A second hit of Night Slash takes it down. Clavel sends out Meowscarada. I love this so much. The fact that the director keeps and raises the third starter just brings me so much happiness. Meowscarada dropped Darkwing with Play Rough. I send out Huey and hit Flame Charge, which doesn't do as much damage as I thought. Meowscarada returns fire with Thunder Punch and drops Huey into the red. Huey goes down in a blaze of glory with Flare Blitz, taking Meowscarada down with him. Director Clavel says he wasn't actually Cassiopeia, but he has an idea of who they are, and that the battle was to test our skill to determine if he would have to face them instead. Wait, hold on a second. This was actually my second fight with you, Director Clavel. Why didn't you go fight Cassiopeia after I lost to you the first time? Funnily enough, our actual battle with Cassiopeia isn't the next fight in the order we're doing things. Our actual next battle is with Arvin. We head to Professor Sada's lab and meet up with Arvin. Arvin takes this chance to vent some of his trauma with his mother to us. I guess that's what we're here for as a friend, right? Give him the chance to blow off some steam and whatnot. Sada calls and asks for us to bring the Scarlet Book to Area 0. Arvin then reveals that it was down in Area 0 that Mabosstiff got wounded. I continue to love the fact that Arvin slaps himself to get fired up. I send out out Donald and Arvin sends out Greedent. Something that I like is we've seen the bones of Arvin's team throughout our adventures with him hunting for the Herba Mystica. One Pokemon for each Titan, and then Mabosstiff. Brick Break takes Greedent into the orange. Greedent's Psychic Fangs are super effective, but we stay in the green. A second Brick Break takes it down. Arvin sends out Toad's-Cruel, and I switch to Featherika. A mistake. I thought that it had a secondary poison typing. Oh well, enough hits of Lumina Crash should take her down without too much of a problem. Well, that didn't do as much damage as I would have liked, and Toad-Squirrel's Spore puts Featherika to sleep. I switch back to Donald and need a hit of Power Whip, which finishes him off. I send out Scrooge and throw down a Substitute. Apparently you can't Spore the Substitute, which is a nice bonus. I start boosting Scrooge's defense with Iron Defense until it's maxed out, as Toad's-Cruel's Power Whips do next to nothing. The Supercharged Body Press finishes off Toad's-Cruel. Arvin sends out Scavillain. We avoid Scavillin's Fire Blast and take down Scavillain with one hit of Body Press. Gargasnell comes out and Body Press takes him down in one hit. Cloyster goes down to another hit of Body Press. Arvin sends out Mabosstiff, his childhood Pokemon, the Pokemon that we adventured together to help recover against all the odds. Arvin's treasure, a Pokemon that has a weakness to fighting type moves, baby. Needless to say, Mabosstiff goes down in one hit of Body Press. Arvin mentions that the Pokemon in Area Zero are really tough and there are a variety of complicated machines. We'll need to get some people to help us. And by that, I mean he means that we need to also complete the Path of Victory in Starfall Street to get into the endgame content. And with that, the Path of Legends is complete. Now it's time to head back to school to fight Cassiopeia. The problem here is that they want me to meet them in the schoolyard at night. Given that I haven't gone to class all semester, I don't actually know where the schoolyard is. It turns out that I need to go to the school map and select the schoolyard to trigger the fight. Someone is there waiting for us, but they have their hood up, so I can't tell who it is. It must be Cassiopeia, right? Cassiopeia raises their hood and it's Penny? Gasp! Shock! I totally expected that. Cassiopeia asks Clive to record the fight to show to the members of Team Star. Despite organizing Operation Starfall, Penny won't give up without a fight. It's time to battle. I send out Donald and Penny sends out Umbreon. Brick Break knocks Umbreon into the orange. Umbreon's Psychic hits hard in return. Psychic? Who do you think you are? Espeon? Let Espeon handle the Psychic type moves. Oh, Penny doesn't have an Espeon on her team. Fine. Another Brick Break takes Umbreon out of the fight. Penny sends out Jolteon and I switch to Featherika. Jolteon decides to waste his time lowering my attack or missing with Thunder as I hit 2 Lumina Crashes to take him out of the battle. And he sends out Leafeon and I switch to Huey in return. After Leafeon's baby doll eyes, Flame Charge does next to nothing. I set up a Sunny Day to boost the power of my fire type moves as Leafeon pings us with a quick attack and gets burnt due to Flame Body. A second baby doll eyes continues to ruin my attack as I hit a second Flame Charge to drop Leafeon into the orange. Another quick attack chips the paint as we hit Flare Blitz to finish off Leafeon. Penny sends out Vaporeon, but there's a problem. We've boosted our speed a few stages, and while our attack is down, our special attack isn't. More importantly, there's a sunny day at night, and Huey knows Solar Beam. Despite being super effective, it actually didn't do that much damage. The Hydro Pump in return hit Huey like a brick, dropping him into the red. Another Solar Beam knocked Vaporeon into the orange, and we went down to a second hit of Hydro Pump. I send out Zapdos, and an Electro Ball finishes off Vaporeon. Penny sends out Flareon, and I take a moment to set up a Tailwind. Flareon's Flare Blitz hits like a truck and drops Zapdos into the red. We don't get a chance to hit Flareon with our super-powered Electro Ball because Flareon hits Quick Attack and finishes off Zapdos. I send out Donald, and Liquidation finishes off Flareon. Penny sends out Sylveon. Liquidation does a decent bit of damage, but Moonblast finishes off Donald. I switch to Darkwing. Icy Wind does the smallest amount of damage and drops Sylveon into the orange, but more importantly, it drops her speed. Sylveon vaporizes Darkwing with a Moonblast. I send out Featherika. Lumina Crash does next to nothing. Moonblast hits like a truck and knocks Featherika into the red. Another Moonblast leaves Sylveon with a sliver of health left. I send out Scrooge and we go for a Steel Wing. We promptly miss and need a Moonblast to the face, which terrified me for a moment, but didn't do that much damage. Our second attempt at a Steel Wing connects and Sylveon goes down hard. And with that, we've defeated the big boss of Team Star. Flashback time! We see Cassiopeia saying the team should break up after Operation Starfall and head back to school. Cassiopeia says she'll take care of it. Of course, she's standing outside the room that the rest of the group is having their meeting in. Such a dramatic moment. It'd be pretty hilarious if they caught Penny outside the room on the call. Back to the present. Clive has some back and forth with Penny about why she resorted to Operation Starfall. Clive then prompts Penny for her feelings about the other bosses of Team Star, and he says the expected line, "My friends are my greatest treasure." Excuse me while I ugly cry here. It really is hilarious that Penny didn't realize that Clive was Director Clavel. Director Clavel collected all the bosses of Team Star and brought them to watch the fight. A very nice and happy moment where they all get to meet Penny in person for the first time. Director Clavel apologizes to Team Star for everything that happened to them and revoked his order to disband Team Star in the threat of expulsion. He also announces they'll need to do some community service, and he likes the idea of Team Star bases as extracurricular projects. Director Clavel really likes how Team Star does things in terms of their base setup. I guess we'll have to agree to disagree at this point. I always like the bit where you have sympathetic villains that still need to be punished for what they did, but the punishment is just community service in the sense of they need to keep doing what they're doing in the first place. Penny also gets punished after confessing to her computer crimes and hacking the league point system. Operation Starfall, or Starfall Street if you want to be more formal, is complete. It's time to have the battle with my rival that we've both been waiting for. One where we can stand on even footing and push each other to new heights. I send out Donald and Nimona sends out Lycanroc. Lycanroc sets up a Stealth Rock and Donald takes it down in one hit of Brick Break. Nimona sends out Palmot and I switch to Featherica. We take a hit off the switch, but we take down Palmot in a critical hit of Psychic. Nimona sends out Dunsparce and I start by having Featherica ruin its physical attack with Feather Dance. Once attack is down all the way, we start switching up Lumina Crash with Feather Dance to negate out the attack stat boost from Dunsparce using Coil. After enough back and forth, we take down Dunsparce with Featherica in the orange. Nimona sends out an Orthworm and I start ruining its attack with Feather Dance again. Once we have its attack down 6 stages, we go on the attack. 3 hits of Lumina Crash, including a very lucky crit takedown Orthworm, though Featherica's left in the red. Nimona sends out Goodra. Despite being super effective, Dazzling Gleam doesn't do that much damage. Ice Beam takes out Featherica. I send out Donald and use Ice Spinner to knock Goodra into the red. Dragon Pulse knocks Donald into the red in return, but one more hit of Ice Spinner takes him down. Nimona sends out Skeledirge. I Terralicize to match Nimona and hit Liquidation to knock Skeledirge into the orange. Shadow Ball takes down Donald. I send out Zapdos and hit Electro Ball, which doesn't do as much damage as I would have liked. Skeledirge takes down Zapdos in one hit of Torch Song. I send out Huey and Flare Blitz finishes off Skeledirge. Nimona is so excited that we beat her. And with that, the victory road has been completed. Arvin calls us up saying that he called in some of my favors with Nimona and Penny, so that we can go to Area 0 now. We head over to the gateway and meet up with our party. We enter the 0 gate, Penny powers it up, and Professor Sada calls and chats with us for a bit and asks us to enter the Great Crater. Sada says that we can make use of Koridon's ability to glide to enter Area 0. I mean, yeah, we could do that, but I've got a team of bird Pokemon who have the ability to fly, so there's no reason for everyone to squeeze onto Koridon. Koridon comes out and everyone climbs onto him. Guys, like I said, we all don't have to ride on Koridon. I've got enough birds for everyone. Zapdos, Darkwing, Huey, and Scrooge can all learn fly. The team gets on Koridon, including Penny sitting in the most unsafe way possible, and jumps out the elevator before I have a chance to get on. Arvin grabs my arm as we go. I'm sorry guys, the protagonist just straight up died here. There's no way Arvin had enough upper body strength to keep a hold of the protagonist and pull him onto Koridon as they flew down to Area 0, unless he's like part Machoke or something. Once we land down in Area 0, Koridon is apparently very unhappy with the absolute insanely unsafe behavior of my party members and recalls himself. Theta calls and says that she's trapped in the 0 lab at the bottom of Area 0 and that we need to visit 4 research stations to unlock the outer locks on the door. We slowly make our way down into the crater, unlocking the locks in the research stations as we go. A few things like Arvin's research station's Radish Rations joke and the fact that Nimona thinks that Penny has a good memory for remembering that they're called research stations has me worried about their minds. Is there some sort of brain melting radiation in Area 0 that's causing problems? Every lab triggers a fight with one of the unique species of Pokemon, where we team up with one of our party members to fight them off. It seems a little unfair of us to gang up on wild Pokemon like that, but it's always funny when I'm doing some setup and my partner just deals with the Pokemon on their own. Every time we enter a research station, Professor Sada calls us to check in. She lets us know that a lot of Pokemon in the crater are ancient Pokemon from the distant past. We learn that Koridon is one of 2 Koridon that were retrieved from the past, an ancestor of the Cyclozar species. The team also discussed the facts that the crystals look like the crystallization of terrestrialization. I've mainly just been pressing buttons and ignoring the documents which say that the Terra Orbs were based on research of the crystals. This is probably going to cause problems later. As we get further down into the crater, Professor Sada slowly becomes more and more unhinged in her calls. Wait, is she a sealed evil in the can? Are we doing something bad in unlocking the 0 lab that she's trapped inside? As we approach the 0 lab, Professor Sada calls us again. He mentions that there's some dangerous Pokemon inside the base. Nothing really to do here but press the button and get this party going. Arvin and Nimona peer pressure us into letting Koridon out of his ball, even though he's obviously traumatized. A second Koridon shows up and bullies our Koridon. What a jerk. We also learned that Nimona apparently can't read the room and thought that Koridon being bullied was a heartwarming family reunion. Ancient Pokemon burst out of the 0 lab and we team up with our partners to fight them off. Eventually the team gets sick of this and sends us to go ahead. Inside the lab we meet Professor Sada and learn that she's a robot built by the original Professor Sada who can only function due to the time crystals in the Great Crater of Paldea, hence why she can't leave. Also, the original Professor Sada is dead and the jerk Koridon is the one who killed her. Robo Professor Sada called us here to stop the time machine as it's going to ruin the Paldean ecosystem. Or in other words, the ecosystem is being ruined by invasive species introduced by humanity. The fact that Seda was doing this by stealing Pokemon from the past via time travel was even more hilariously dangerous than if she just did a John Hammond and started cloning them in the crater. Then again, maybe this implies that time travel would always be a stable time loop. The timeline didn't self-destruct because those Pokemon would have always disappeared from the past because Professor Seda would have always invented the time machine to take those Pokemon from the past. Time travel is too confusing. Fingers crossed that Celebi just fixes everything. Professor Seda apparently hard-coded protection so that the robot would stop anyone from shutting off the machine. Not even protections that would stop people from destroying the machine, protections that stop it from being turned off at all. That's right, this idiot built a time machine, set it up to destroy the local ecosystem because of her stupid dream, booby-trapped the off button, and then went and died to a Pokemon she yoinked from the past because she apparently forgot that she had a Master Ball linked to that Pokemon. Man, Paldea, am I right? At this point, is Professor Seda, or Turo, depending on the game you're playing, the true villain of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? Leave your answers in the comment down below. I swear we can do this. I adjust the moves again, and it's time to battle. I send out Scrooge, immediately throw down a substitute, which hilariously prevents stat drops, so we're only one stage of attack down, which doesn't matter because our strongest attack uses our defense stats for damage calculations. With our defense stat maxed out, despite the fact that it's not very effective, Body Press still does like 40% of Slitherwing's health and damage. Slitherwing finally manages to break our substitute after running into it like a brick wall for long enough that leftovers restored basically all the health we used to make it. I tried Steel Wing just to see if it would work better, but it did next to nothing. I set up another substitute and take 4 damage from Slitherwing connecting with Leech Life. Another hit of Body Press takes down Slitherwing. Roboseda sends out Fluttermane. Fluttermane breaks the substitute with a Power Gem. Steel Wing drops Fluttermane into the orange. I wonder if we weren't down a stage of attack, would it have been enough for a one-shot? It probably would have left Fluttermane in the red. Thunderbolt drops Scrooge into the orange, but a second Steel Wing takes down Fluttermane. Roboseda sends out Sandy Shocks, and unfortunately Scrooge doesn't want to tough it out, so we're not sad. Discharge takes down Scrooge. I send out Featherika and hit Lumina Crash. Earth Power drops us into the orange. A second Lumina Crash takes down Sandy Shocks. Roboseda sends out Brute Bonnet. I switch to Donald in return. We outspeed Brute Bonnet and close combat takes it down in one hit. Roboseda sends out Scream Tail and I switch back to Featherika. Shadow Ball is super effective but doesn't do as much damage as I would have liked. Play Rough drops Featherika into the red. I have the realization that all of Scream Tail's moves are physical, so I switch to ruining their attack with Feather Dance. I'm immediately punished for my hubris by Scream Tail critting Play Rough and taking down Featherika. I send out Huey. Steel Wing is super effective, but once again it does basically nothing. Checking their stats, it actually looks like Scream Tail has pretty high defense and special defense stats. The lowered attack from Feather Dance seems to really be helping us here. I decide to make the problem worse by burning Scream Tail with Will-O-Wisp. We use Flame Charge to boost our speed and chip down Scream Tail. Roboseda sends out Howling Moon. I immediately burn it with Will-O-Wisp, ruining his attack and putting him on the clock. Stone Edge finishes off Huey in return though. I send out Zapdos. Howling Moon outspeeds us? Really? Stone Edge drops us into the orange. Hurricane does a bit of damage. Howling Moon's Stone Edge misses and we set up a Tailwind. Zapdos roosts to restore some health. Stone Edge fortunately misses again. In the meantime, the burn has chipped Howling Moon down into the orange. Our supercharged Electro Ball does a bit of damage. Stone Edge misses again? A third time? Given Stone Edge has an 80% accuracy, the odds of that happening are, what, like 1 in 125? But I won't complain. Electro Ball does a bit more damage. Howling Moon appears to have finally run out of power points for Stone Edge here and switches to Dragon Claw, which does decent damage. Tailwind runs out and Dragon Claw drops Zapdos into the red. Howling Moon faints to the burn. Victory at last! With Roboseda defeated, Arven has a discussion with his mother's robot duplicate. But before Arven can get any actual closure, the defense protocol takes control of Roboseda for the second stage of the fight, sending out the other Koraidon. Also, the protection protocol locks all Pokeballs that don't have Seda's signature. I'm going to assume that the technology to lock Pokeballs is limited to being used here due to the power of the crystals. Maybe this moment is why the Pokemon anime had to get rid of Ash as the protagonist. Pikachu would have been out of his ball here. I guess I shouldn't have joked about the fact that the security protocol probably should have just murdered the protagonist. Who thought when we went on a school extracurricular event to find our treasure would lead here to this moment? Standing defenseless in front of a living fossil about to be mauled to death. We send out our Koraidon to do the fight, and as far as I'm aware, this fight is a guaranteed win for the player. Something that's funny is I would have Terralisized Koraidon for this fight, but I can't do that until the team says to do it. Also, Penny doesn't realize that we've already done it and tells us that Terra still lies. With the battle over, Roboseda returns to normal. She gives us a speech saying that she's the reason that the time machine keeps coming back online and therefore needs to sacrifice herself to save Paldea. She has a tragic goodbye with Arven and then travels to the past. I mean, if they wanted to bring Seda back in future games or DLC or whatever, I suppose the professor's a robot, so she could have used that time to figure out how to upgrade her body so she can survive outside an area that's saturated with Terra energy. That assumes that the time machine is actually a time machine though. With the time machine deactivated, we've completed the main storyline and the end credits play, but even ignoring the DLC, the game isn't over yet. We make our way back to the academy and get called out for going to the Great Crater of Paldea, the one place they told us it was forbidden for us to go during our treasure hunt. That being said, Director Clavel is actually super chill and actually proud about our achievements. Director Clavel wants to celebrate the fact that the protagonist has become a champion, even if everything that went on in the Great Crater of Paldea is redacted. Nimona suggests a battle contest. Gita shows up and says it's a good idea. Nimona asks if Chairwoman Gita would like to participate as well. I get voluntold to assess all the Paldean gyms to make sure they're up to snuff. I'm not too worried about the bulk of the gym leaders, but I think Iono and Karusha might cause us trouble. I spend some cold, hard Paldean cash to get some ability capsules to swap the abilities out. I swap out Scrooge's ability to pressure, making him even more annoying brick wall for opponents. I also swapped out Zapdos' ability for Volt Absorb. Time for a boss rush. Caddy's new team is much better than when we first fought her. She now has 5 Pokemon with full movesets and some actual type coverage. Stone Edge against flying types, a variety of fighting moves for rock, and high horsepower against fire. Caddy opens by sending out low kicks. I send out Huey. I immediately Terrastalize and knock low kicks out with 2 hits of Aerial Ace, though he did manage to drop my attack with a lunge. Caddy sends out Fortress, who goes down with a hit of Flare Blitz and Flame Charge. Enjoy your quad weakness to fire, buddy. Caddy sends out Heracross, who goes down to a hit of Aerial Ace. Enjoy your quad weakness to flying. Caddy sends out Spadops. Our first Aerial Ace knocks Spadops into the orange. Spadops decides to be real annoying using Silk Trap to block our follow-ups, of which there were more than one because the second Aerial Ace left her with a sliver. Caddy sends out Ursaring. Aerial Ace takes out a chunk of her health, but the follow-up Play Rough knocks us into the orange. Ursaring gets burnt because of Huey's flame body. The lowered attack from the burn is the real benefit here. That being said, it wasn't enough for us to manage a total sweep as Play Rough takes out Huey. I decide to have some fun with Scrooge by stalling out and letting the burn mess up Ursaring. I keep throwing down substitutes and Ursaring's crunch keeps breaking them in one hit. After 3 exchanges, Huey has his revenge as the burn takes down Ursaring. Barassus is up next. I don't think I commented on it before, but I'm not sure how I feel about Barassus' whip. Does he have it in the whole Indiana Jones thing? Is he using on people? On Pokemon? Off the top of my head, I remember that Sabrina's original sprite had her with a whip though, but she did lose it by Pokemon Gold or Silver. The best way of making sure that Barassus isn't using his whip on anyone who doesn't want it is to beat him in battle and make it clear that friendship is the best policy here. I send out Huey and Barassus sends out Lilligant. I immediately Terrastalize Huey and take Lilligant down in 2 Aerial Aces. She did manage to set up a light screen, but Huey is a pure physical attacker, so it doesn't worry me too much. Barassus sends out Breloom. Aerial Ace takes him down in 1 hit. Enjoy your quad weakness to flying. Barassus sends out Terracina. She does a bit of damage with Play Rough, but 2 hits of Aerial Ace take her down. Barassus sends out Arbolivia. This is kind of funny. I hit Aerial Ace, which triggers Arbolivia's Seed Sower ability, changing the terrain to a grassy terrain. But Arbolivia then uses grassy terrain, which does nothing and is just a wasted move. A second Aerial Ace takes him down. Barassus sends out Sudowoodo. Aerial Ace does a chunk of damage, but Sudowoodo's follow-up of Stone Edge finishes off Huey, once again ruining my chances at a complete sweep. I send out Donald and use Ice Spinner to destroy the field and prevent Sudowoodo from healing in battle. Listen, battle healing is only cool and fair when I do it, okay? Ice Spinner drops Sudowoodo into red health. Sudowoodo's Trailblaze knocks Donald into the orange in return. The speed boost wasn't enough to outspeed Donald, and another Ice Spinner takes down Sudowoodo. If we were following the same order we did gyms in originally, Iono would be our next challenge. I decide to leave her fight for later. We head to Cascarafa and challenge Kofu instead. Looking at his team now, he's got some ice moves to handle grass Pokemon and a ground move for electric types. I send out Huey and he sends out Veluza. I Terrastalize Huey to get rid of his fire type and set up a Sunny Day to weaken all water moves, as well as buff Solar Beam. Veluza's Aqua Cutter doesn't do much. Solar Beam knocks Veluza into the orange. Psycho Cutter does a little bit more damage before a second Solar Beam takes Veluza down. Kofu sends out Pelipper, who immediately changes the weather to rain with her ability. I switch to Zapdos, who I probably should have been using from the beginning. Discharge one-shots Pelipper. Enjoy your quad weakness to electric, buddy. I'll see you in hell. Kofu sends out Clawitzer. Discharge drops Clawitzer into the red, and then he one-shots Zapdos from full health with Water Pulse. What? Okay, I wasn't expecting that. I suppose that must be his Mega Launcher ability, making it terrifying? I send out Donald and use Ice Spinner, which leaves Clawitzer with a sliver. Well, that was my mistake. Dragon Pulse drops Donald into the orange. A hit of Liquidation finishes him off. Kofu sends out Wugtrio. I swap back to Huey and set up another Sunny Day to weaken Water-type moves. Wugtrio hits us with a couple of Throat Chops, burning himself on the second one. Solar Beam drops Wugtrio into the red and the burn finishes him off. Kofu sends out his ace Pokemon Crabominable. Solar Beam does about a third of his health in damage. Ice Hammer misses, which is great considering it would probably one-shot Huey, and has 90% accuracy. A second Solar Beam leaves him with a sliver as the second Ice Hammer connects and takes down Huey. I send out Donald and finish off Crabominable with close combat. Before going after the next gym, I used some of my winnings to buy another ability capsule and swap Darkwing's ability to Super Luck. After all, who doesn't love an increased crit chance, right? Head over to Medley to have a second rematch with Larry. Looking at his team, he has a bit of type coverage with a few psychic moves to deal with fighting type Pokemon. Unfortunately, I'm not planning on using a fighting type Pokemon here. I send out Scrooge and Larry sends out Oinkalone. Scrooge doesn't seem to be really interested in battle here, and in fact, all we can do is ask if we can change any Pokemon's Terra type. Weird. I didn't know he was interested in that, but I'll try to do my best to support the hobbies of my Pokemon. As is my strategy, I set down my substitute and start buffing the defense stat using Iron Defense. Oinkalone keeps hitting Body Slam, but it can't break through our substitute. With our defense maxed out, it's time to begin the slaughter. Body Press one-shots Oinkalone. Larry sends out Bravery. Bravery's close combat finally breaks our substitute, and Body Press takes him down in one shot. Next up is the Dunsparce. I set up another substitute to keep Scrooge safe. The fact that we dodge Stone Edge while inside the substitute is hilarious to me. Body Press takes down to Dunsparce in one hit. Kamala manages to get off a Sucker Punch but goes down to one hit of Body Press. Larry sends out his ace Staraptor. I love how Intimidate doesn't affect us at all given that Scrooge is hiding inside the substitute. It wouldn't have mattered regardless given that Body Press uses our defense stat and not our attack stat, but still. Terastallization makes Staraptor more vulnerable to Body Press. Staraptor outspeeds us and hits close combat to break the substitute again, and then Body Press takes him out. Does it count as a no damage sweep if I only lost health setting up substitutes? 4 gym leaders down, 4 more to go. Our next destination is Montenerva, to face off with Rhyme again. Looking at her team, we see that she's picked up some additional type coverage against Dark type with a few of her Pokemon now knowing Play Rough. As with our last fight with Rhyme, this is a double battle. I send out Darkwing and Donald, and Rhyme sends out Bayonet and Mimikyu. Sending out Donald was a mistake on my part, as I forgot it was a double battle, but we'll carry on. We break Mimikyu's disguise with Liquidation and deal a bit of damage, but take way more in return from Play Rough. Bayonet goes down in one hit of Night Slash. Rhyme sends out Houndstone. A second hit of Liquidation takes out Mimikyu. Night Slash drops Houndstone into the red, but Houndstone returns fire, knocking Darkwing into the red with Play Rough. Rhyme sends out Spiritomb. Donald finishes off Houndstone with Liquidation. Darkwing crits a Night Slash to knock Spiritomb into the orange. Rhyme sends out her ace Pokemon Toxtricity. Donald's Liquidation takes down Spiritomb. Toxtricity has had enough of this bullshit and takes down both Donald and Darkwing with Boom Burst. I send out Featherika and Zapdos. Zapdos uses Hurricane to knock Toxtricity into the orange. Interestingly enough, I always assumed that Hurricane hit the entire field when used in double battles, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Featherika finishes off Toxtricity with a Shadow Ball. As with all the other gym leaders, there's a bit more type coverage in Tulip's team. Fairy to cover Dark, Dark to cover Ghost, Fighting to cover Bug, Fire to cover Bug and Steel. I send out Darkwing and Tulip sends out Fargiraffe. Night Slash takes him down in one hit. Tulip sends out Gardevoir. I swap him to Scrooge. Mystic Fire does a decent bit of damage. I set up a substitute. Iron Head takes down Gardevoir in one hit. Tulip sends out Galadee, and I switch to Featherika. I use Feather Dance for a few turns to ruin his physical attack. 3 Shadow Balls take him down. Hilariously, we crit on the third attack, which totally helped considering that he had a sliver of health left at that point. Featherika did take a lot of damage from all the hits of X-Scissor though. No way we would have survived without ruining Galadee's attack with Feather Dance. Tulip sends out her Espithra for a mirror match. We crit for a second time in a row and one-shot her. Tulip sends out her ace Pokemon Florges. I leave out Featherika. Shadow Ball doesn't do that much damage. Moonblast takes down Featherika though. I send out Donald. Liquidation drops Florges into the orange before Moonblast takes him out. I send out Scrooge and Iron Head takes down Florges for our win. That's fine. It came down to the wire, but I think we can do this without needing more level grinding. I swap my moveset around a bit and I'm ready to try again. I send out Zapdos and Iono sends out Kilowattrel for a mirror match. We both start off with Tailwind. Uproar does a decent bit of damage. Our Volt Absorb negates Kilowattrel's boosted discharge. Kilowattrel pings us with 2 quick attacks as the Uproar takes him down. Iono sends out Luxray. I switch to Featherika. As Luxray is a physical attacker, I spam Feather Dance to ruin her attack. After Luxray's attack is ruined, I Terastallize and 2 Lumina Crashes takes down Luxray. Iono sends out Electrode and Electrode uses Foul Play to finish off Featherika. Unfortunate. I send out Zapdos and start an Uproar. A few hits knock out Electrode as he hits Foul Play and then wastes his time with Magnet Rise again. Iono sends out Belly Bolt and I start another Uproar. Each hit does around a quarter of his life in damage. Zapdos is in the orange after the Uproar, so I take a chance to Roost, which results in Belly Bolt wasting a move on Sucker Punch as Zapdos heals back up to full. I take the chance to set up a Tailwind and Belly Bolt wastes another turn on Sucker Punch, and the Reflect that Belly Bolt set up earlier wears off. Time to start another Uproar. This would have been the perfect time to use Sucker Punch, but he doesn't. Belly Bolt goes down. We're back at Mismagius with a lot more Pokemon we had last time and a Tailwind on the field. Uproar does a bit of damage, but Mismagius takes down Zapdos with 2 hits of Shadow Ball, and the Tailwind goes away. I send out Darkwing and use Sucker Punch, which crits and takes down Mismagius. Wait, what? I wasn't expecting that at all. Thank you, Super Luck. The protagonist showing up on Iono's stream apparently really boosts her numbers. Seems like Iono is down to collab at any time, but she doesn't want us to collab with anyone else. Everyone's been making jokes about Yandere and Nemona, but I think people are sleeping on Yandere Iono. Maybe that's just me though. Now I would say something along the lines of, you don't tell me what to do, Iono. Given that I'm always nervous about setting up collabs with somebody regardless of who reaches out first, you might get your wish, Iono, and that makes me so angry. Future Cobalt here. The funny thing is that I only started doing collab streams after I finished this playthrough. One gym leader left and then we'll have completed our second gym circuit. More importantly, we finally get to see Grusha again. He opens up to us a bit emotionally about how he worries about the gym assessments, given that he already lost his job as a professional snowboarder. If he loses his role as a gym leader, what will he have left? I know it's our job to defeat him here, but I'll have to comfort him after the battle. Grusha now has a few ground, water, and fairy moves to provide type coverage, though not as much as I would have expected. If I was building the moveset, I probably would swap Bounce on Titan for Earthquake, or one of the other ground moves it can learn. Time to fight Grusha. I send out Scrooge, and Grusha sends out Frostmoth. I start my standard strategy for Scrooge, substitute and boosting my defense with Iron Defense. Frostmoth sets up a Tailwind to boost her speed. Interestingly, it looks like Bug Buzz bypasses the substitute. That being said, it doesn't do too much damage, so I'm not super worried about it. Blizzard breaks my substitute, so I have Scrooge set another one down. Frostmoth outspeeds us because of the Tailwind and hits us with a Blizzard to knock us into the orange, which leaves us in the red after the substitute. The Tailwind peters out here, which is a miracle. I'm worried about Bug Buzz finishing us off here, so I take a break from boosting my defense and use Iron Head to one-shot Frostmoth. Grusha sends out Baratic, at which point I remember that fighting is super effective against ice. Body Press takes down Baratic in one hit. The Titan comes out and goes down in another hit of Body Press. Weavile goes down in one hit of Body Press, and more importantly, doesn't break the substitute with his hit of Night Slash. Altaria breaks the substitute with Ice Beam, and Body Press finishes him off in one hit. Grusha mentioning that he likes my burning passion and that we rekindled this passion has my heart beating so fast. And with that, we have completed the run. At the time of writing, the second DLC hasn't been released yet, and this video is getting hilariously long already, so for video purposes, we won't be covering the DLC here. Maybe we'll save it for the next challenge video. But if you really want to see how things went, you can check the VOD archive, as I did go through the first DLC on stream. Assuming I did things correctly, there should be a card with the link on screen, and if not, there'll be a link in the doobly-doo. Before we go, wow, this has been a big project. My first stream of this challenge run was June 10th, 2023, so it's absolutely taken a while to put this together. I'll have to try to speed up the process going forward. This was the first time I've ever tried editing something this long. The bulk of my things up till now have been mainly quick edits to stream content, so a whole new thing to work with. Pushing yourself to try new things is always a good idea, right? What I learned from doing this challenge is that support moves are actually great. My default strategy for playing Pokemon really has been the same as when I was a child, in that you should just attack, attack, attack. Before we sign off, I'd like to say a few thank yous. First, to you for watching this video and making it this far. I really appreciate it. Second, to everybody who stopped by my stream as I was playing through this challenge and lurked, followed, rated, hung out, and chatted. Third, thank you to my mods for helping keep the peace during my streams and generally just being pretty cool people. Some of them even stream, so if you're interested in that sort of thing, please check them out and give them a follow. You apparently need to be a YouTube partner to make cards for links off-site, so I've included links to their channels in the summary down below. Finally, a special shout out to Madrybread for inspiring me to try my hand at making a Pokemon Challenge video, especially for putting together a playlist showing how he put together his own Pokemon Challenge videos. Though if you're looking for more Pokemon challenges to watch, I'd recommend you check him out. And if you're tired of watching Pokemon after this monster length video, I'd recommend either checking out his Crusader Kings 3 playthrough or his Wrestling Empire playthrough, which is one of, if not the funniest playthroughs I have ever seen. And this is coming from someone with no knowledge of wrestling. And I think that's about it. As a final question, who do you think was our MVP Pokemon this run? And why? Drop your answer in the comments down below. I'm really interested in what you think. I had a lot of fun with this, so I will be doing more challenge videos going forward. I'm planning on the next few not having a 2-year turnaround that the first two did. The next challenge video will be a Hades challenge video. My next planned Pokemon challenge video will be, can I beat Pokemon Scarlet using only Wooper? At the time of recording, I haven't started streaming that challenge yet, but at the time of release, I'll probably be streaming that on Saturdays and Sundays. As I've mentioned, I stream these challenges on Twitch, so if you want to be a part of things, please feel free to stop by and hang out. I've got a few ideas in the pipeline after that for more limited Pokemon challenges. Things are going to get a lot more scary once I can't muster up a full-size team, I think. If you have any suggestions for future Pokemon challenges, please feel free to drop them in the comments down below or on my Discord. Oh right, there was one more thing on that front. I've added a channel point reward on my Twitch channel. If you have 300,000 channel points, you can spend them and pick a challenge for me to make a video for. Disclaimer, some terms and conditions apply. All challenges are subject to approval by Cobalt and discussion with redeeming party. Channel points will be refunded or exchanged for equivalent services in the case that Cobalt does not accept the challenge. Offer not valid in some areas. Redemption of this reward may be subject to completion of a skill testing question. Channel reward may not be redeemed in the case where it be in violation of any local law or ordinance. You must be 18 or over to play. Please watch Pokemon challenges responsibly. One last thing before we go, I had to cut a ton of scenes to try to keep the time down on this video, but I probably failed at that. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you stay safe, and I will see you next time.